Come to Sam Ash for hundreds of exclusive holiday deals on music and sound gear from the most iconic brands. Save big on professional and starter guitars, drums, digital pianos, horns, violins, DJ, and electronic production equipment. Supercharge your home studio with deals on podcasting, streaming, and AV equipment like speakers, microphones, headphones, and acoustic treatment. Plus, with 36 months no-interest financing on thousands of items, you can get the gear of your dreams right now. From our incredible selection and service to our lowest price guarantee for over 95 years, real musicians know you only go to Sam Ash.
At Life's a Beach Realty, we're all about life on the beach. Stunning Panama City Beach and one of the most beautiful properties on the Gulf Coast, Shores of Panama. Radiant, elegant, and spectacular. Steps away from white sugar sand, every room overlooks the turquoise of the Gulf of Mexico. Come in for your tour today. Life's a Beach Realty is your gateway to Shores of Panama, the shores, and a whole lot more.
You're now in the Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense. Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television live here nightly on Bucks Report. It's the Sports Web. Happy Valentine's Day. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. And as we always start off on the web, bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have Allison Koehler, beat writer for the Tampa Bay Vipers, getting you ready for the Seattle Dragons versus the Tampa Bay Vipers on Saturday. And then, of course, author Jameis, one of the book, Jameis Winston, Derangement Syndrome, How Media Bias Causes Us to Overlook the Start of a Hall of Fame Career. And then, of course, your phone lines, 813-699-5353. That is 813-699-5353. We'll have Allison Koehler breaking down the matchup. We'll have the author, and then we'll have your comments, and then also go into what Bruce Arians had to say. Is David Johnson going to get cut? Are the Bucks interested? Also, we'll talk about other cuts around the NFL. So it's going to be a busy night. And as I always say here, who would you rather spend your Valentine's Day with or Valentine's night with than your favorite sports broadcaster right here? So definitely going to be a fun night, and definitely want to get out to some of these comments really quick. And then we will get Miss Allison Koehler on. But I'm looking forward to this. I'm definitely looking forward to everything that is going to happen tonight, and definitely love the response, as it has always been great. Over 2,000 views this week with the one show on Monday night. We had Al on Tuesday night, which also was over 1,000. And then we had about 1.5, over 1.5 on Wednesday, took off on Thursday, of course, and now we're back here on Friday night. So let's read some comments here. Fang Gang, I like it. So I'm expecting you to call. She should be calling about 9:05. She is the beat writer for the Tampa Bay Vipers. We've got Rob Roller. How you doing? D. Okay. What's going on there? Chris Dunkson, I'm Tyrone. Okay, very cool. We met in Carolina a couple years ago. Great. Crazy how much the LA Wildcats font and logo follow yours. It is, but we had it first. So they were copying off of us, definitely. And there is some XFL news today in the league. Of course, we have Seattle tomorrow and the Tampa Bay Vipers, but it could be a big time crowd because, as you know, Seattle and they're football fans, they really know how to support their teams. Could be 25 to 30,000, one of the largest audiences for an XFL game in this young season. So that's definitely good for the growth of this new starting up league. I got a Snake Man. Okay, great. Hey, what's going on, Jeff? Happy Valentine's Day, Timmy. The PIY crew, very cool. I'm spending my Valentine's Day with my gorgeous future wife and the phenomenal Peter Blake. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Will. Pit crew. That's what I thought you said. What's up from North what is that? Not California. It's actually Canada. So thanks a lot, Andrew, for tuning in. And then, of course, you've got Timmy saying Vipers get their first win tomorrow. We'll see. Already, there's been breaking news from last night as Aaron Murray has been ruled out of this game. So most likely you're going to see Taylor Cornelius. He's going to take some snaps. Oklahoma State threw for over 30 touchdowns. And then Quentin Flowers last week was taking some snaps in some different packages, but he played 23 snaps last week. So, well, there you go. We got our beat writer right now. All right, let's get her on. Allison Koehler, beat writer of the Tampa Bay Vipers. And happy Valentine's Day, Miss Allison Koehler.
Hey, happy Valentine's Day to you too, Peter Blake.
Yes, absolutely. And I know you're going to be getting us ready for Seattle versus Tampa tomorrow. And both teams, consequently, in a 10-game season, need a win in the worst way. But it's going to be tough, especially with the breaking news that I was just talking about last night. Aaron Murray is not playing this game. It looks like Taylor Cornelius is going to get the start over Quentin Flowers, right?
Yeah. They haven't, Mark Trestman was kind of tight-lipped after practice yesterday, and they said they haven't announced the starter. So it's going to be a game time decision who's starting. But Taylor Cornelius did take the bulk of the first team snaps.
Right.
Obviously, Quentin Flowers was in there as well, but if I were to put a percentage in there, definitely Taylor got the majority of the first team snaps. So it's going to be interesting, to see, and it could be just because, Quentin has been, in practicing as quarterback probably more often than Taylor has. So they probably just wanted, maybe it was just a situation where they wanted to get Taylor, more reps.
Does Mark Trestman feel confident in Cornelius starting for this team, or both of these quarterbacks at this point starting for this team on Saturday versus Seattle? Because as I was talking about, it could be 25 to 30,000 fans, which is a big time high for an XFL game. That's a tough place to play. As you know, the Bucs went there in Seattle, gave them everything they could handle, but those fans are crazy. They love the XFL. It's definitely important for those fans to come out, and it's a hostile environment. So do you think that Trestman feels confident in both of those quarterbacks to go in there and take care of business?
Yeah, I would say that Trestman does feel confident in both Cornelius and Flowers. When I specifically asked him what his thoughts were, because yesterday, this was before the announcement came out that Murray wasn't starting. So I said, with Murray having been out, all week of practice, if he can't go on Saturday, what are your thoughts on Cornelius and Flowers? And he just said, all I can tell you is that the starter is going to be a game time decision, and it doesn't really matter who's going to start because they're both going to play. So he really didn't, and that was the only question I got to ask him. So because yesterday was technically not a media availability day. So he is, like I said, he's tight-lipped on the situation. But he didn't give me a straight answer in terms of how, what his thoughts are on Taylor Cornelius and or Quentin Flowers being in the game. I mean, it's obvious that he likes Flowers. Mm-hmm. There really hasn't been as much out there about Cornelius, obviously, because he has not played in a game yet.
Absolutely. And we're speaking with Allison Koehler, beat writer for the Tampa Bay Vipers. Of course, getting ready for the big time matchup between the Seattle Dragons and Tampa Bay Vipers on Saturday here on the Sports Web, the evolution of sports talk television. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. So we move on from quarterbacks, talk about the other side here. And I think this could be a really big opportunity, Allison, for this defense to get some turnovers, namely against Brandon Silvers, who last week, 21 for 40, 217 yards, 3 touchdowns, but 2 interceptions. And really, against the DC defenders, 3 turnovers in the first half really sealed their fate. But you got to feel like this defense has an advantage going into this game versus Seattle, especially with the ineffective quarterback play of Silvers.
Right. I mean, they definitely have an advantage going in, period. Because, I mean, despite the score, they're first in total defense. I mean, they only allowed Matt McGloin 182 yards passing. They only allowed the Guardians running backs to get 44 yards. So, despite the 23-3 score, they held the offense to like very little.
Right.
Obviously.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
But they didn't, they didn't get any sacks, and that's a huge deal. But, the Dragons only had 1 sack last week. So in terms of their pass rush and that sort of thing on defense, that they're pretty evenly matched in that aspect.
Absolutely, and they only gave up 182 yards to Matt McGloin last week, but they did have some coverage breakdowns. There's another challenge here with the Dragons. They have Keenan Reynolds, who's the former Navy quarterback. He didn't play well. Austin Proehl, or Proehl.
It's Proehl.
Proehl, right. Well, Bucs fans should know that name. Ricky Proehl, remember him? He's the guy that caught the touchdown in the NFC Championship game for the Rams. His kid went off last week, 5 catches for 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then they just picked up S.J. Green from the CFL, who has 10,000 receiving yards in his CFL 12-year career. So once again, this could be a big-time matchup that look for, because coming into the season, a lot of people not only thought the Vipers were going to score a lot of points, but defensively, especially in that secondary, they were going to be stout.
Yeah. They're definitely going to have, they're going to have some problems. I mean, like you said, going into Seattle, it's a hostile environment. It's going to be loud, and that's something that I didn't find out. I'm not sure exactly. Obviously, I watched practice, a few days this week. Not really sure, Trustman's view on, how they're going to practice. Are they going to, once they're in Seattle now, are they practicing with piped in noise? I mean, what are they doing to kind of, prepare themselves for the environment that they're going to be in at CenturyLink Field? I'm not sure, but it's definitely going to be an interesting game because, as you said, both teams lost last week. They're both going to have a chip on their shoulder, and they're going to both have something to prove. So it's going to be an interesting matchup.
You've had a chance to talk to Dan Williams. How does he feel about going into this week versus the Dragons? Because according to Pro Football Focus, they were the lowest team with their coverage grade. So there could be some big-time opportunities, not only for Williams after he came off a 123-yard receiving game, but also for Truesdale and Tolliver, who really didn't show up last week. But I think all 3 of these wide receivers, the 2 wide receivers and the tight end, with their size mismatch, there could be some big-time points scored in this game no matter what quarterback, right?
Right. Well, Dan Williams, he's excited in general about, just being the man there so far. I mean, obviously we've only been through 1 game, but he's super pumped about facing the Dragons, and he's even more pumped about coming back home next week and playing a home game, in front of the crowd at Raymond James Stadium. But yeah, I mean, the receiving core, all the guys are really big and really tall guys, and Reese Horn is another 6'3" wide receiver that they relied on last week as well. So
right.
between Williams, Tolliver, Horn, Truesdell, I mean, I think the Dragons defense is going to have a lot of work on their hands, that's for sure.
And we're with beat writer of the Tampa Bay Vipers, Allison Koehler, here live on the evolution of Sports Talk Television, live nightly on Bucks Report. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. You've been around the team all week. How do you sense them? Are they coming into this game with confidence for this year? Do they feel down, or do you feel like they're confident at this point?
Well, I do feel like they're confident. I mean, they had a lot of expectations, there was a lot of expectations for the Vipers coming into the season. And,
right.
I think obviously it's hard to project, team rankings for a league that did not exist.
Sure.
So, obviously that was just, pure speculation and whatnot. But, yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like they're confident. I think that, despite the loss and despite the interceptions and the fumbles, I feel like, there was a decent game,
right?
Underneath there somewhere.
Sure. Well,
the
positives that you take out of it is you have over 400 yards of offense, but the thing is,
right,
you have to work on scoring points in the red zone with only scoring 3. So they definitely have to work on that. And I'm looking at the matchup this week with Seattle. They don't have a great defense, especially with covering these wide receivers. So this could be a big game for the Vipers and their wide receiving core. Now let's go and shift gears here. Of course, Devontae Smith, pretty good game, not over 100 yards, but good game by him, by the rushing attack. You also have Jock Patrick. But I'm looking at the other side here. You have Kenneth Farrow and Jaquan Gardner. Look, this could be a mismatch where you have to definitely win, because the Vipers last week, they shut down the Guardians and that potent running attack. But now you face another running disadvantage with Kenneth Farrow, who we all know from the AAF days, but he didn't really show out last week. So how do you see this matchup taking place?
Yeah. I mean, I honestly think that their run defense is solid. I mean, they really didn't allow the Guardians to get much going on the ground. And so I really think that that's, that the defense is definitely confident that they can go into Seattle and kind of take care of at least the run game. Yeah. The pass defense obviously is still very good. So I think if the Vipers are able to eliminate turnovers, and it's really hard to tell, right now, just speculation, because nobody really knows how Koehler Cornelius, like, to be honest, I sort of feel like it's going to be very similar. I mean, obviously they're going to try and get Flowers more involved than they did last week. Last week they just weren't able to because the game dictated otherwise. But I do feel like Koehler is going to play, the Murray role. You know what I mean? I feel like he's going to play probably just as often, as Murray did, and they're just going to try and get Flowers involved some more. But so it's kind of hard to tell, if they're going to, how they're going to do through the air. But you look at Taylor Cornelius, and he's 6'6". He's a big dude. Aaron Murray's 6'1". So even though Aaron Murray is a far more experienced quarterback, Taylor Cornelius, his height, that's a significant height advantage right there. He's going to be able to see the field better. He should be able to see the field better, which hopefully, will eliminate some of the mistakes that maybe Aaron Murray suffered because, he wasn't able to see the field as clearly.
Absolutely. And we're on with Allison Koehler, beat writer for the Tampa Bay Vipers, here live on the Sports Web, the evolution of Sports Talk Television. You mentioned Cornelius, over 30 touchdowns passing for Oklahoma State in 2018. So it's not like this guy hasn't done it before, of course, in his first XFL game versus a team that, again, in a hostile environment. Talk about it, 25 to 30,000 raging, screaming fans, no matter if it's the Seahawks or the Dragons. So it's definitely a tough environment. Speaking of tough, what's the injury situation for the Vipers? Of course, we know Aaron Murray's going to be out of this game, but Renell Hall, who used to be former wide receiver for the Bucks as a cornerback, he was limited. Would you expect him to play?
Well, he was limited, like you said. He did his transition from wide receiver to defensive back is definitely an interesting one. Sure. I mean, obviously there's some similarities there. But he was practicing returns. Mm-hmm. So I do know that his status is probable at the moment for tomorrow's game. So I do expect him to play. How much he'll get in there, I'm not sure, because according to the depth chart, he's like third on the depth chart.
Sure.
But they could get him highly involved in special teams, and that could be really helpful for the Vipers. That's for sure.
Yeah, and the other injury that I was paying attention to was Jordan McCray, the center. He had a knee injury, so he's been limited. So I don't know if he's going to play or not. And you always look at that because the offensive line didn't necessarily do a great job versus the Guardians. Give the Guardians credit, but it's always tough to lose your starting offensive lineman. He was limited. Have you heard anything other than that at this point? Any game time status for for that guy?
Yeah, he's also listed as probable, so
okay.
That's obviously a good sign.
And then you got Jason.
It's better than questionable because you just never know. At that point, what's going to happen until game time. Probable, obviously, is a better status.
And then you got Neal, the defensive end. He's coming off a groin injury. He was limited. I wouldn't expect him to play. I don't think he can play on a groin injury after 1 week, right?
Right. Yeah, he's also listed as probable, but you're right. The groin is, it's difficult to move around like he's going to need to with that kind of injury.
All right, I got to put you on the spot because I know you're a beat writer for the Tampa Bay Vipers, but how do you see this game playing out tomorrow, Allison?
I think Trustman and his crew are going to be ready. They corrected some of the errors, or attempted to correct some of the errors in practice this week, and that they're super focused on Seattle and winning the day, as Mark Trustman likes to say. So I do think that they're going to go in there. I think it's going to be a close game, and I do think they're going to win. It would be awful if the Vipers started the season 0-2. Yeah. Obviously, Seattle is dealing with the same situation, but I still feel like the Vipers defense is probably going to pull this one out for them.
All right, good stuff. Allison Koehler, beat writer for the Tampa Bay Vipers. Thanks a lot for coming on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. All right, I'll see you on Monday night.
Thanks for having me, Peter. Go Vipers.
All right, there you go. 813-699-5353. 813-699-5353. We can get in a quick call, but we're expected to have Jameis, one of one, author of Jameis Winston, Derangement Syndrome, How Media Bias Causes Us to Overlook the Start of a Hall of Fame Career. We'll go out to the web heads here, read some comments from you guys until the author comes on. I'm excited to have him on. I definitely will be asking him questions. We'll be going into some of these comments from Bruce Arians, and you can kind of tell, in my opinion, where this coach and this organization may be going, and we'll get the latest from him because, look, remember, this is, whether he's mainstream media or not, this is a person that came out and basically said that not only Winston had the LASIK surgery, but also came out and said that he played through a meniscus and he was getting knee surgery. So he's definitely credible. And when anybody says he's not credible, I kind of shake my head. Everything that he's kind of said has been true. Sorry. That's all I can say about that. 813-699-5353. 813-699-5353. What's going on, Mark Magana? How you doing? Johnny Dean, of course, asking where you've been. Definitely stay tuned. Coming up at 9:30, we'll have him on. Pretty much busy, man. My life calming down just a bit now. You guys are just talking between yourselves, getting into this XFL stuff. Pound the share button. Good stuff. Let's see. Johnny Dean, yeah, sure. Same here. Slowly but surely. AAF broke my heart, but we'll see how that goes. Let's see here. Get some more comments. Hold on a sec. There we go. Ditto. Kevin Clayton says XFL was pretty cool. Only 1 week, but I'm liking it. Mark says looking like a good football. Can't deny that. It is. It's looking good. It's impressive, right? But what was disappointing is the fact that the Vipers lost to the Guardians last week. And even though they had over 400 yards of offense, you've got to score. You've got to score more than the field goal, especially with all those yards. So we'll see if they can get that bugaboo off their back versus the Dragons on Saturday. And that game is at 5 o'clock, I believe, on ABC, if I'm not certain. But I'll check for you. But it's at 5 o'clock. So let's see here. Christopher says, I probably won't be able to watch it because I might be going on a date. Well, there's nothing wrong with that, Christopher. Congratulations, buddy. I hope it works out for you. It looks like the girl is in the background there. So I didn't know you had a girlfriend, but good. You're going out on a date. So you can always, I guess, watch the replay of it, or we'll recap it on Monday night, or catch Charles Richardson's post-game recap on the Vipers Pit here live on Bucks Report. So there you go. Matt says the XFL last week was uninspiring to me. Matt, you're just not a very positive person. I don't know why, but if you do want to call in, we've got 6 minutes until our guest comes on. 813-699-5353, 813-699-5353. I don't think, Matt, you're ever happy about anything, but I thought there was some good play. And, of course, you had some stinker games. I think the big surprise had to be the Dallas Defenders versus the St. Louis Battlehawks. But I did tell you when we did a pre-show of all the teams in the league that everybody was kind of counting out St. Louis because of their offense. Well, you can win games with defense. They had the defensive personnel, namely Garvin from the Orlando Apollos. So because of Peter H. Blake, I had to watch 2 musicals tonight. Thanks a lot, man. Just kidding. Well, hey, man, you got to do what you got to do. Like I said, happy wife, happy life, happy Valentine's Day. 813-699-5353, 813-699-5353. What's going on, Mark? How you doing? Welcome back. Yes, former Oklahoma State quarterback Taylor Cornelius, the Iceman, and he's been known to be, and it is Fox. So there you go. Fox at 5 o'clock for the Seattle Dragons versus the Tampa Bay Vipers. Once again, a tough matchup because both teams need a win at this juncture. Both teams got to get a win. You don't want to start out a 10-game season and 0-2. You just don't. You know, it's like a regular NFL season. You start out 0-2, 0-3. It's difficult. We all know too well with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers starting out 2-6. It's not a good thing. It's not. So you got to start out fast, and hopefully they can get their first win. And, Seattle coming into it predicted 3-7, 4-6. So they weren't predicted to do very well. And they had difficulty last week in the first half versus the DC Defenders. They turned the ball over a lot. You can't do that to win games. Any league, you can't do it. So did anyone from the Bucs actually substantiate the torn meniscus? It's been substantiated by other sources, not just him, but he was the first to have it. Maybe Winston back for 1 year and Arians gone. If Bucs have a bad year and Winston then gets a big contract. Not sure what's going to happen. But once again, it's got to be this year for me. If they're bringing back 1 year, if they bring him back to a short-term deal, then that's what they do. But of course, he's going to have to be productive. He's going to have to cut down on the turnovers. But if he got LASIK surgery, you got to think that he's going to be improved in some manner, right? I would think if he can't see the scoreboard and people say, well, you should have got it sooner. Well, hey, jackass, you can't get it sooner because your eyes are not developed. You can't get it until you're 25. Winston is 25, 26 years old. 26, I think. So, all right, let's see here. Isn't it crazy how they bring up 30 interceptions and 5,000 yards passing, but never talk about the 33 touchdowns? If he threw for 5,000 yards, 10 touchdowns and 30 picks, they need to be fair, but they're not. And that's why I have him on. That's why I'm having him on, because it does exist. The Jameis Winston derangement syndrome does exist in the media. Peter King the other day, perfect example. All the stats out there in the world, Mike Florio basically killing him in the debate. What does he have to say? So what? So what? Because of the 30 interceptions. I'm not going to go through that again. It was just a joke. It's a joke. And he's covered differently, whether you want to believe it or not. And there's no middle ground when you're talking about Jameis Winston. Absolutely none. You either like him or you hate him. And this guy gets a lot of backlash because he comes after people. And that's okay. He's calling them out. I call you out. I'm calling you out on that stuff. The way you're covering them. The way you're putting out that headline, which is not correct. I like it. That's what I like on the sports web. All right. Jameis getting LASIK to boost his contract value. Don't know why he waited 5 years to have it done with squinting at FSU. I just explained it to you. I just gave you the reason why he did it. Why he couldn't do it before. You can't do it until you're 25, 26 years old. 25 years old, what I've read. 25 to 40. So, pretty sure that would violate the HIPAA law. Deontay Boyd, this is going to be a good one tonight. It is. Most doctors suggest waiting till age 25 to get the procedure. There you go. That's the reason why. I mean, everybody's like, well, he did it on purpose because he wants a big contract. Okay, so you played through a torn meniscus because he wanted to lower his value? Right? We're going to go that direction? Oh, he just played for himself. We're not going to mention that. We're not going to mention that guy that played through a torn meniscus on his knee or a fractured thumb. No. Without his two wide receivers, all we talk about is turnovers. That's it. That's how we're going to do it. So we don't do that on this show. I mean, we'll get both perspectives, but if you're just going to give one perspective, and I've debated you guys about this, and I'll ask him the same questions. If he thinks there's a quarterback out there that's better for this situation. So we're waiting for him to come in, and once he does, then we will get him and what he thinks about Jameis Winston in this situation going into the offseason. Deontay Moore call. The games in XFL I saw here in Oklahoma just looked like a bad college team. Didn't grab me like the Alliance League did. Well, I think there's also the fact of you were grabbed by the Alliance League, and now you haven't gotten over it, Matt, because you don't get over things. You hold grudges, and you feel like this league is going to fail, either because the AAF failed or because the league failed in the past in 2001 with Vince McMahon. I mean, you got to get over it, man. One good thing about the XFL is every game is shown live nationally. I mean, that's a good thing. It's a small league right now, so you get a chance to see. And in fact, there was some XFL news today, as I'll get back to the webheads in a moment. From the LA Wildcats, linebacker Anthony Johnson was traded to the DC Defenders. That's right. Johnson, one of their team captains to start the year. Of course, they fired Pepper Johnson after the first game. That's it. You're done. Bring your playbook after the 37-17 loss to the Houston Roughnecks. I don't want to say Rough Riders. I'm thinking of CFL. Roughnecks. After P.J. Walker went out for 4 touchdowns, Johnson was traded to the DC Defenders for Bradley Sylvie, the cornerback who had an interception return against, that's right, the Seattle Dragons. So there you go. And the Defenders will play the Guardians this week, both coming into that game 1-0. So we're waiting for Jameis 1 of 1 to get here on the Sports Web live tonight. And we'll get some questions. And then after we get these comments here, want to go into the Bruce Arians comments. And like I said, he's not showed up yet. He hasn't clicked on the link yet. Once he does, I'll see him. But right now, phone line is open, 813-699-5353. 813-699-5353. It's the evolution of Sports Talk Television live here nightly on Bucks Report. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Happy Valentine's Day. I hope you had a good day. Hope I haven't interrupted your night. But if I have, if there's a woman out there, teach her football, please. Okay? We've got to do a better job as a man. We have to. Teach those women football. If they want to learn, take the time to teach them. All right? So we do have our guest on here right now. So let's go ahead and get him on. Mr. Jameis, 1 of 1, author of the Jameis Winston Derangement Syndrome book, How Media Bias Causes Us to Overlook the Start of a Hall of Fame Career. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Happy Valentine's Day.
Thank you. How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm pumped up for this interview because I like the fact, and we talked about this off air last night, that you call people out on their stuff, especially when they're covering a quarterback that basically you either like them or you don't. And that's what I appreciate. And most of the stuff that you've said on Twitter has come true. You talked about the LASIK surgery. You were right on that. You talked about the knee surgery. You were correct on that. So I have to ask you at this point, with them going into free agency and the deadline being March 10th, do you expect the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to either franchise or sign Jameis Winston to a short-term deal?
Well, I've always been consistent the entire year that the Bucs want a long-term deal done. But it all comes down to money. You know, they have the tag to sort of hold over his head and use as leverage. But the media, narrative that the Bucs don't know what to do, it's absurd. It's completely ridiculous. But of course, the media, they're just guessing on pretty much everything. They throw out narratives and, just see what'll stick. And then, when I report something, they sort of, either ignore it or they'll lose their minds and pretend that I don't have sources. I mean, I'm happy to come on the show today, but I know that, one of my followers even sent me something that you guys had said, there's no sources there. Well, everybody knows now.
Right. I mean, we were going to speculate on it, but I trust you as a source because I've seen some of the things that you put out, and I appreciate the book that you put out there because there are those analytics and there are those statistics. Like this year, for instance, Winston coming into the year only threw 378 times, a total of 4 years. This year, he threw 257 more times, 626, which basically averages out to 41 times a game. You can't win NFL games like that. You look at the postseason teams, they threw an average of 27 times. You have to have balance to your offense.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think Arians, he wants to have that running game. He had it in Arizona. Whether it's an issue of the backs or the line, I sort of lean on the line. I think Rojo has a lot of talent. I think he could have a nice 2020, but they've got to fix some issues.
Yeah, and coming into this year, I was put out the statistics of Tom Brady, 97 touchdowns, 52 interceptions. Winston, 88 touchdowns, 51 interceptions. What's the difference? Well, they're calling Winston basically a bust, and Tom Brady is one of the greatest quarterbacks to start his career. The big time difference also is that he's had consistent coaching, consistent offensive line, a running game, and on top of it, a defense that doesn't give up 29 points a game. That's what everybody kind of misses. And then this year, coming into it, you have a new offense where basically quarterbacks that have been in Bruce Arians' offense have a propensity to throw a lot of interceptions. Carson Palmer being one, Ben Roethlisberger, Andrew Luck. So you even said on some other shows that you expected Winston's interception total to go up this year, right?
Oh, yeah. When Bruce got hired, well, actually, going back to when Bruce, he finally gave an interview, he was still retired, and he gave an interview saying that he was interested in the Browns job. And immediately I tweeted out, if Jason Light offers him the Bucs job, he'll take it. And people went nuts and said I was an idiot. And I said, just wait and see, and lo and behold, Bruce took the job. But I did definitely predict right from the day one that, Winston's interceptions are going to spike. They're going to go up. That's what happens to quarterbacks in the first year of Arians' system. And Carson Palmer, he sort of has hit the circuit recently defending Jameis and saying, hey, I expected it too. This is what's going to happen. People don't realize how difficult, Arians' offense is, not just on the quarterback, but on the receivers too. They're learning the new offense and they're running the wrong routes half the time.
Correct. I mean, half of those interceptions were most likely on not only the tight end, who was trying to basically be a Harlem Globetrotter, with trying to catch the ball behind his back, but also wide receivers running wrong routes. And you still have fans to this day that'll say, well, the coach is covering for him. No, he's telling you not only is it on the quarterback, but it's also on the wide receivers. And we have Jameis 101, author of the Jameis Winston Derangement Syndrome, here live on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Now, you mentioned Carson Palmer, and I was thinking of this. He continues to kind of pop up on radio shows, defend Winston, and talk about how if he comes back in that second year, he basically is going to knock it out of the park. Because remember, Winston was what? second to Lamar Jackson in touchdowns, only the 8th quarterback in NFL history with 5,100 passing yards. It certainly seems like Palmer may be a voice piece for Coach Arians. What do you think?
Well, yeah, Carson definitely has that Arians connection, and I think he believes in Jameis as well. What I think is interesting is, when you look at the media's portrayal of Jameis and what the media views Jameis as, compared to what actual players and especially Hall of Fame players view him as, there's a mass difference, and that's interesting because usually, the media and the players sort of agree on things a lot of times, but the media basically treats Jameis like he should be in the XFL. And Warren Moon has said Jameis is an MVP candidate. Terry Bradshaw has raved about Jameis and said the Bucs should bring him back. Steve Young said the Bucs would be nuts not to bring Jameis back. I mean, there's a litany of Hall of Famers that have Jameis's back and say this kid is the real deal. And then you've got the media spinning that he's garbage. And that goes to the title of my book, Derangement Syndrome, Jameis Winston Derangement Syndrome. The media has it. The players don't have it, but the media definitely has it, and they infect the fans with it. And fans, they look at the media as sort of all knowing. The media is clueless. When this news came out about the LASIK and the knee surgeries, the media had no idea what to do with it because they didn't have the sources. And Rick Stroud, Jenna Lane, they're calling all over the place and just being shut down. And they don't have the sources. They don't know what the fans think they know. And fans always want to point to mainstream media as this all-knowing entity. They're not. They're not really that much different than fans. They happen to collect a paycheck and they sort of get put in contact with some sources. But a lot of times players will freeze them out because they don't trust them.
Yeah, and I think they have their narratives too. They have their personal favorites. And, coming into it in 2015, it was Marcus Mariota versus Winston. And I still think there are media members out there that hold his transgressions at Florida State, which, by the way, have never been proven. They hold that against him, and they wanted Mariota. So as soon as they didn't want Mariota and Winston was in Tampa, they've done everything to make his life miserable here with the Bucs. Is that fair?
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think, media, a lot of times they just double down. Even when they realize they're wrong, they just keep doubling down, hoping that at some point they'll be proven right, rather than admit they made a mistake. People can go do an advanced search on my tweets on Mariota. I've defended the young man many times, not so much as a player on the field, because even when he was in college, I've always been clear that to me, he was a gimmicky game manager. That was always the statement I used. And it's not really like a massive insult, but I said he was Alex Smith 2.0. And Alex Smith carved out a nice career for himself. And, hopefully Marcus can do that somewhere. But he, to me, has always been a gimmicky game manager. Whereas Jameis is a legit gunslinger. You put the ball in his hands and say, sling it, kid.
Yeah, you say it's sling it, kid, and he fits the offense perfectly with Bruce Arians. It's no risk it, no biscuit. I want to really quick get back to the knee stuff. He had a torn meniscus, and I was thinking the other day, why would Winston play through that injury? Because basically all you have to do is say, you know what, I'm not playing it. I'm not going to ruin my value in free agency. Do you think the organization or Bruce Arians gave him assurance to say, you know what, you don't have anything to worry about. You're going to play through the injury because we're going to bring you back next year. Is that fair?
I don't want to speak for Bruce in any way. I love Bruce. I have a lot of respect for him. I will say, Rappaport reported during the season that, Jameis had basically been promised, a tag, regardless whether they can get a deal done or not, and then he kept playing. And I mean, it does just make perfect sense to say that, why in the world would he play? Now, Jameis he's different though. I mean, he's sort of a wild man with football. I mean, I said that, basically his teammates would have had to sit on his chest to keep him off the field. But at the same time, you do think his agent would have kidnapped him and kept him off the field because there was no reason to play those last 2 games at all. None. He had just, become the only quarterback in the history of football with back-to-back 450-yard games. And he's got a broken thumb. He's got the meniscus issue. 3 of his top 4 wide receivers are out for the rest of the year. Why in the world does he play those 2 games? Why not just sit down and say, hey, man, I'm banged up. Those last 2 games, that's me. Pay me. But instead, Jameis goes out there and plays, throws a couple more picks, and fans start spinning bad narratives. And, but that's who he is. He's a warrior.
Yeah, he's a warrior, and I think he's Brett Favre. I think he's Brett Favre reincarnated again. He's going to try to make every throw. He's going to give you your team the best chance to win. Once again, does he commit some mistakes? Yes, but if you cut down on those throws by not only improving your offensive line, because you look at his completion percentage versus the blitz, I think it's like 42, 43%. Right there, if you give a quarterback 3 to 5 seconds to throw the ball, or you provide balance to your team where the defense basically doesn't think of you as just one-dimensional, then I think that's where you have your success. So once again, you believe that the Bucs are going to sign him to either a tag or a 2 or 3 year deal.
Well, yeah, I mean, they want him back long term, but it all comes down to the money. It really does. If Jameis doesn't want, or if Jameis's agent doesn't want him to play in Tampa, they could ask for the moon. And so it goes both ways. People that say, well, why isn't he signed yet? It's the same reason Dak isn't signed, same reason Brady, et cetera, et cetera. So it's really all about money. But, Arians doesn't need leverage to tag Jameis. And yet in his, end of the season press conference, he specifically said, I'm not going to give up leverage. This has always been about getting a longer term deal done with Jameis. But, whether that happens, the Bucs need to pony up. So we'll see what they do.
I know J.C. Cornell of the Draft Network came out with the report that it was $30 million. A lot of people are running with that. Do you think that's because the camp of Winston has never came out and substantiated that? And then a lot of people just jumped on it. And I said, you know what? You don't have any idea. It's just a report out there. But if you think about it, 101, basically $30 million, $27 million is the franchise. So what's another $3 million? That's the going rate. You have Dak Prescott, who turned down $33 million with the Dallas Cowboys. I know that you probably believe, and a lot of fans out there believe, that Winston is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott. Prescott has a lot more around him, offensive line, running game, wide receivers. I mean, he has a totally better team around him, and yet he turned down $33 million. There was a report that he wants $40 million. So people are acting like, he's asking for a lot more money than what he deserves. That's just the market, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, Jared Goff is, he received $33.5 million. And I don't think there's anyone that believes Jared Goff is a more talented or even a better quarterback than Jameis Winston. Nobody.
Right.
So, if that's what Goff got, I've always said Winston deserves more than Goff. Whether it's one penny or 1 million, he deserves more. But what a lot of fans don't realize, they throw out the 30 million figure sort of to gauge people's reaction and to see if people will freak out or not. And they didn't really freak out. But what fans don't realize is that, you can you can backload a deal and you can pay Jameis underneath the franchise tag in 2020, even in 2021, if you go to a 4-year deal. And so Jameis can sign a long-term contract that tops Goff's and per year money and actually cost the Bucs less on the salary cap in 2020. So fans don't understand any of that. And really the media is, for the most part, a lot of times clueless on that too. But that's the way contracts work.
Absolutely. We're on with Jameis 101 with the book, Jameis Winston Derangement Syndrome, How Media Bias Causes Us to Overlook the Start of a Hall of Fame Career, here live on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Let's look at his comments because he talked to Greg Allman and Jenna Lane, of course. Arian still said that he's evaluating team options at quarterback because they still don't know who will be available. Coaches are going through scenarios, who they like if they were available, including Winston, of course. The other comments here, which I think tells a story, he basically says he doesn't feel like there's going to be many veterans that are going to get out there. Only 2 quarterbacks he feels like are going to get out into free agency. So let's play a hypothetical for a moment. Phillip Rivers. Does Phillip Rivers strike you as a guy that fits Coach Arians' system?
No, I will say that, if they can't reach a deal with Jameis, Phillip would probably be the easiest quarterback to get. So, some people ask me, if I had issues with what Arian said. I really never do have an issue with what Bruce says. I think Bruce knows how to play the game. I think, he's both a straight shooter, but he's also intelligent and he knows how to work the media a little bit. And what he's saying really is, all he's saying is that, hey, if Jameis doesn't come back, they can't put all their verbal eggs in the Jameis basket, so to speak, because if it doesn't work out and they do bring Rivers in, they're going to want to spin the story that Phillip was always their guy. They always wanted Phillip Rivers. Now, that's of course not true. That's absurd. But if they can't get a deal done with Jameis and they have to settle on Phil, then, Arians can stand in front of a podium and say, we always wanted Rivers. And the media will spin that's actually true and that Jameis was garbage. But, it's all just part of the game.
Other comments from Greg Allman of The Athletic. He was talking in the coaches conference yesterday. Really, nothing has changed. What's door number 2? How do we make the one we have better? I would be shocked if it's 2. Right there, it tells you what he's saying. It's basically he's going to stick with Winston, like Ian Rappaport reported. And this is why I think the media is so ridiculous, because the Bucs are going to change their mind as an organization on Jameis Winston without his 2 top wide receivers and Brashard Perryman. Does that make any sense at all? Whether it's 30, 40 interceptions, they are taking that in stride at that point. That is a disadvantage for Winston.
Yeah, and if Bruce was a lot younger, or if he had, a 10-year deal like Gruden or something like that, there may be a little more to what the media is selling. But, he has a very short time left as an NFL coach. And to think that he's going to start over, especially start over with somebody that's worse than Jameis, somebody like Phillip Rivers, that makes no sense. And to think that he'll use Phillip as a bridge and then, draft a guy maybe like Jordan Love. Well, then you're starting over in 2020 with somebody worse than Jameis. And then you're moving to somebody else in 2021, restarting over, and still have somebody worse than Jameis. So then you've got, Bruce Arians basically the last year of his NFL coaching career with a second-year Jordan Love. That doesn't make any sense. What? That's Bruce Arians throwing away his own future.
Yeah, exactly. Here's a guy that came out of retirement. On top of it, the biggest elephant in the room, one-of-one, is the fact that the Super Bowl is in your own backyard. Don't you think the Glazers, Coach Arians, and that whole offensive and defensive staff is thinking about just getting to the playoffs? Because as we know, all you basically have to do at this point is get in. You get hot at a certain time with that offense, with those 2 wide receivers, a second year under Winston's belt, and that defense progressively getting better and being added to in the draft. You got to think that they feel like not only they're a playoff contender, but maybe they can compete for a Super Bowl in their own backyard.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Arians actually, after the season, he had said, he really was sad because he thought that even this team as is, even Jameis with the 30 picks on the year, if they would have snuck into the playoffs, they could have made some noise. So that's as is. Now you're talking about Jameis in a second year of a system, hopefully Mike and Godwin healthy through the whole year. I think Arians, has belief and faith that this team, if they can bring back the defensive pieces, bring back Jameis, that this team as is can make a lot of noise. And if you can add a really nice, player in the first and second round of the draft,
All right. And he goes on to say, you don't know who's available. You just sit there and wait and see if someone's available. If not, if there's a better option, that's the problem. You get about 2 days to decide in the legal tampering period. If somebody else is going to get let go, who's that trade value? So let's go to the quarterbacks that a lot of the fans have talked about. We're on with Jameis 101, author of Jameis Winston, Derangement Syndrome, How Media Bias Causes Us to Overlook the Start of a Hall of Fame career, here live on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Tom Brady has been bandied about. Does that make sense? I get it. The resume shows 6 championships, but he's 42 years old. If you put him behind this offensive line, he's going to get killed. He's going to ask for more than $30 million. I mean, and he can't even throw the deep ball, which is what Coach Arians wants in his offense in the first place, right?
Yeah. And even, Peter King, who had a meltdown recently on Pro Football Talk and has, is definitely infected with Jameis Winston derangement syndrome. Even, when he met with the Bucs and wrote a report on it, he made it really clear that the Bucs prefer Jameis over Brady. So, that they prefer to get a deal done with Jameis. So, yeah, I mean, Tom Brady, he's the Godspeed. He's not the GOAT, but he's the Godspeed, the greatest of the Super Bowl era. And he'd sell tickets, but I don't think he'd improve the team. I don't think he fits what Arians' system is. I think he'd want things changed. And I think that Bruce believes enough in himself that he's not going to change even for Tom. People say, well, he'll change for Tom. I don't believe so. I believe that Bruce feels that he himself is going to be a Hall of Famer one day. And I think he has the resume to prove it. And if he gets a Super Bowl, he'll lock that up. And I don't think Bruce needs to change for an old quarterback. I think he has a system. He has a quarterback already with Jameis that can sling it like crazy. It doesn't make sense to bring in Brady. And I don't think Brady would want to play here anyways. I think he knows the massive beating that Jameis Winston takes. I don't think there's any way Tom Brady wants to sign up for that.
Bingo. There you go. Now you're looking at Teddy Bridgewater. He could be another free agent. Do you see him as a fit? Because once again, the salary is going to come into play. And not only that, But the fact is, he has 5 games under the Saints? I mean, before that, his touchdown to interception ratio was nothing to write home about, 1 of 1.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot of good things about Teddy as a person.
Right.
I don't believe in him at all as a quarterback, and definitely not in Bruce Arians' system. I think that would be a disaster. I mean, that to me would be like a team signing Adam Humphries and making him their number one deep threat. It just doesn't make any sense. Teddy Bridgewater, and not to be rude, but he has a noodle arm. I mean, he has one of the weakest arms in the NFL. And there were reports that teams that are not inside of a dome or have great weather would never even consider signing him because his arm is so weak. So to think that he's going to go into the most demanding offense in the NFL for as a gunslinger and Teddy Bridgewater, it just makes no sense at all. And when I see that, it just makes me laugh because the people who mention Bridgewater, they obviously have no idea what they're talking about.
What about Andy Dalton? I mean, there's some Bucs fans here on Bucs Report, and I love these guys, the webheads. You watch some of the shows; they're very passionate. They want to win. They haven't been to the playoffs since 2007. Haven't won a playoff game since the Super Bowl year in 2003. So they want to win. But a lot of people are saying Andy Dalton. He's a guy that don't lose the game quarterback. 2 wide receivers who cut down on the interceptions. The defense is there, but come on, Dalton as the starting quarterback for the Bucs. Does that make sense?
No. I think Dalton probably actually would be better in the system than Bridgewater. But he'd be starting over. He'd be learning the offense all new. Sort of the key with Dalton is that, probably you won't have to give up more than a 4th-round pick, and he's on a cheap contract. So I could see a team maybe, making a move for him to bring him in as a backup or to compete or to be a bridge quarterback. But it doesn't really make any sense in Tampa.
What about the ridiculous rumor put out by Dan Cilio in San Diego, former Tampa Bay sports talk show host here for WDAE, about the Bucs being one of the teams that would trade up for Joe Burrow? Can you see that happening?
I don't really know who that guy is. Somebody did send me that list, and I checked his page out real quick, and it's just filled with like wild rumors of like every team. I saw one where he said that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to sign Amari Cooper. It takes like 5 seconds to research their cap space and realize they don't have the money to do that. So I sort of look at him. I don't know who he is, but I sort of look at him as just somebody who sort of throws stuff out to stick. As far as Burrow, the Bucs, they just don't have enough to even move up. People are talking about the Panthers are going to try to make a move, and they're going to have to give up their 1st-round pick and Christian McCaffrey and probably more. So what? The Bucs are going to give up Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and that doesn't make any sense. And Burrow, I hope he does well for himself. But he is a 1-year wonder. We don't know what he's going to be. I hope great things for him, but nobody knows for sure how that's going to play out in the NFL.
You compared Winston to Brett Favre. His numbers look like Peyton Manning. When you mention those numbers, people say, it's the NFL these days. But yet, King the other day was saying, well, so what? But those quarterbacks that you talk about in history have never done that. So it's kind of amazing, once again, this accomplishment. People just look at it, the 30 interceptions, but they don't look at him being second in the NFL and passing behind Lamar Jackson with throwing touchdowns and then, of course, the yards. Besides Brett Favre, I throw this comparison out at you. Terry Bradshaw, he got hammered with the Steelers. Was watching a Football Life on the NFL Network, and for so many years was getting killed. And then finally he developed. Of course, you had a defense backing him, but the fans thought he was stupid. And I definitely know who has Jameis Winston derangement syndrome. That's Jason Whitlock, because in a conversation when they were debating about Winston and Cam Newton, who would you pick up? He said Newton because he feels like Winston reminds him of Gomer Pyle. The same could be said about Terry Bradshaw. They thought he was stupid, and yet he went on to win 4 Super Bowls. Who would you say in the media is definitely guilty of having Jameis Winston derangement syndrome the most?
On a national stage or a local stage?
National, local, go for it, my friend. It's the sports web.
Well, I mean, at the moment, I think nationally, I would say Peter King, just because I've never seen somebody have a meltdown the way he did. Jason Whitlock definitely has been ripping Jameis for years. Max Kellerman at one point, ripped Jameis just continuously for years. After my book came out, Max he changed his tune, and really he's been sort of nice with Jameis. I don't know the whole backstory of that, but I've heard a couple of his takes, and he seems to have changed on that. So at the moment, I would say Peter King is sort of the card-carrying, flag-waving, cross-burning Grand Wizard of the Jameis Winston derangement syndrome movement. In the local media, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them, and I try to give a lot of them a pass. I mean, I know that tons of the local Tampa media, they just cannot stand me, but I try to give them a pass. I've sent many of them nice DMs reaching out. I've told them, hey, when I get to Tampa, I'll take you out to lunch, but they hate me. So it is what it is.
Yeah, no. Hey, look, and like I said, this is not everybody's chocolate, vanilla, strawberry ice cream. This is Rocky Road. I call it a TV show, but it's really not a TV show. It's a radio show. We call it the evolution of sports talk television. Join the 64,000 following we have here on Facebook. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with author Jameis One of One, author of Jameis Winston Derangement Syndrome, How Media Bias Causes Us to Overlook the Start of a Hall of Fame Career. So tell us about the book a little bit if people are not familiar. I can't wait to get a chance to read. I've heard nothing but good reviews. And I know that you were on one of my friends' shows, which is Gene Thomas of Buck What You Heard, which we carry his podcast here live on Bucks Report. We're not live, but you can definitely listen to it. But tell us about the book a little bit.
Well, it's a monster. It's not an easy read. It's over 400 pages. It's backed with 850 plus citations, and it's filled with not just counting stats and stuff that you could find online pretty much anywhere, but it's filled with original era adjusted stats that you can't find anywhere outside the book. And what it does is it compares Jameis with every Super Bowl era Hall of Fame quarterback, including those that are guaranteed to go to the Hall of Fame. For example, Breeze, Brady, Manning, and Aaron Rodgers. And it compares him on in an era adjusted way. So, a lot of people will say, well, so what? Like Peter King about yards. Well, with Jameis, it breaks it all down era adjusted so that you can't say that. It shows how he compares with every single one of them in an era adjusted way. It even does that with wins, which is sort of difficult to do. But, I had fun writing the book, and, I've heard nothing but good reviews from people. And I've said many times to those who try to trash it, and haven't even read it, hey, be the first one to refute it. Nobody can refute a single page. I know people in the media have tried to. I know people in the media that have read the book because they were just looking for something to pick at and refute. They can't do it. There's not a single page that can be refuted in the book.
Why Jameis Winston?
Oh, Jameis is the most fascinating character study in the NFL. I mean, it's not close. Justice is a big thing for me. I'm a Christian theologian, and I've just always been interested in justice. Movies I watch are generally documentaries and true stories and things of that nature. And I've said many times, because I've defended Matt Stafford a ton, even on the Jameis One of One account. I defend Matt Stafford a lot, and I honestly hope he gets traded out of Detroit, because he was saddled with a disastrous situation there, and nobody wants to play for the Lions. But and Stafford is a guy also that has been overlooked by the media. But he isn't treated anywhere near the way Jameis is treated. Jameis is basically, Matt Stafford, and the media is on steroids and just ripping him. But he's also better than Matt Stafford anyways. And he's a fascinating study as far as a player goes. Breaking down his stats and looking at them in an era-adjusted way is very fascinating. And then just his whole history from Florida State on, it's remarkable. It's very interesting. I mean, I could see a Hollywood movie being made of his life one day. And there's so much about his life that has never been told. Things that I know that it's never been out there. And people would be blown away to see some of the things that this young man has gone through. It's really pretty remarkable. He's just a fascinating character.
Love it. Good stuff. All right. A lot of people say you're Jason Light. I don't believe you're Jason Light. I believe you're a different person. You may sound like Jason Light. What's your opinion of Light and what he's done with the Bucs in his tender?
I've always been, very nice to Light. I've always been complimentary of him. Nobody's perfect, and he definitely has some shortcomings. But so does Belichick as a GM. Not really as a coach. He's basically as close to perfect as you can get as a coach. But he's taken some big swings and misses as a GM. As far as Light, everybody, of course, would point to the drafting Aguayo, but who knows whether that was his call or the owner's call? We don't know. My biggest issue, I guess, if I had to pick one, is simply that he hasn't protected Jameis the way that a GM should protect a franchise quarterback. And it's the same thing in Detroit with Stafford, but it goes deeper with Jameis because it isn't just on the field stuff. It's there's a lot I can't really get into right now, but Light knows Light knows what I'm talking about. Jameis Winston has taken bullets for the organization for years. He allows the media to just heap all the blame on him, and not just to the level of most quarterbacks take blame for wins and losses. Jameis takes heat and accepts being hit with bullets that he shouldn't take. And I liked it when, at the end of the year, he spoke up a little bit for himself and he said, check your sheet. Because Jameis, I've called him the Black Tebow behind the podium. He always just says the right thing, and he never throws his teammates under the bus. And, even to just see him react like that for, a really quick, minute, I liked it because the media, they abuse this kid. And he's just always classy with them. I mean, Jenna Lane, on the day that she writes an article about the birth of his son, she includes, the ending, ripping him about an unsubstantiated accusation. I mean, that you can't get more trashy than that. You just can't. And there's just, my book points out many different things, with the media, where they look at him as a whipping boy, and yet Derek Carr, Max Kellerman says one little thing and Derek Carr flips out and threatens to fight him. Or you say something negative against Baker Mayfield and Baker will just go off. But Jameis just takes it. He just takes it. And his GM allows him to take it. And that would be one thing that I sort of disagree with, is I think Jason Light would do a lot better job of, standing up for his own quarterback and saying, hey, this kid, you guys don't realize what he's doing for the organization.
And just talking to the people in the know, it wasn't a Jason Light pick. It was actually a Lovie Smith pick. He wanted Jameis Winston. The Glazers wanted Winston. And I always go back to this point of contention with the Glazers. If they didn't like Jameis Winston, they would have gotten rid of him a long time ago when the Uber stuff came out. So do you feel like the Glazers do like Jameis Winston? And are they the final say on this decision coming before March 10th or on March 10th?
From everything that I've heard, the Glazers love Jameis. And to be honest, from everything I know and everything I've really heard, anyone who has ever spent actual time with Jameis loves Jameis. The media, they don't know him and they can't stand him. But I've never even heard of somebody who personally knows Jameis Winston that doesn't like him. Everybody likes him.
Right. Yeah, I don't understand it, but that's what I love about the book, and that's why I love to have you on the Sports Web again. In fact, I'm going to throw this out there. When he signed, because I definitely believe he will, not only because he played through the knee, but what you said tonight, I like to have you on here exclusively on the evolution of sports talk television, okay?
It'll be fun. It'll be fun.
All right. I'll tell you what, promote your book, and where can they follow this guy? Because he has so much information to provide, not only about Jameis Winston, but the media alike. He's calling him out. I love it. I love how he definitely presents himself on Twitter. So give your Twitter handle and also promote that book once again here on the Sports Web, please.
Oh, sure. My Twitter handle is @Jameis1of1. And you can get the book on Amazon as far as the paperback, or if you're looking for an ebook, they're pretty much everywhere. Barnes & Noble and Kobo and Apple and all of those things.
All right, good stuff. And like I said, don't go too far because we have a free agency show coming up on March 18th. I'm taking off all day long from the sales job, so I'd love to have you on then. But before then, definitely we want to get you here on the Sports Web. Thanks a lot for giving us your time tonight, okay?
Sounds good, brother. You have a good night.
All right, there you go. So that's Jameis, one of one, author of Jameis Winston Derangement Syndrome. There you go. What do you think? That's good stuff, right? 813-699-5353. 813-699-5353. It's the evolution of sports talk television live here nightly on Bucks Report. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. So there you go. We got him lined up. Once Winston signs, he's on here talking about it, telling you he was right all along. And like I said, I always go back to the report from Ian Rappaport before the Texan game. When Godwin and Evans are ruled out, they made the decision. Why did Coach Arians come here in the first place? Jameis Winston. You think he changed in 2 games because he threw 6 interceptions? I get it. 7 pick sixes, not good. But in a new style of offense, when you're asked to throw 626 times without balance to your run game, I don't get it. All right, let's go out to the web heads here and get some of these comments. He was a great guest tonight. And, of course, Allison Koehler, beat writer for the Tampa Bay Vipers. So definitely want to read all your comments. Let's see. Peter, you sound like you want to run me off tonight. Geez, no, I'm just saying be positive, my friend. You know, it's Valentine's Day. It seems like everything all the time with Matt is, well, the XFL's not good. Not good. This is not good. There's a lot of good things going on. You got a new football league tomorrow. You got the Tampa Bay Vipers, and I get it. They didn't look good versus the Guardians. It doesn't mean they're going to look that much worse against the Seattle Dragons. I don't think the league is bad at all. I think it's been a good brand of football. I just think you're being negative. That's all. I love you, Matt Colson. You can always call in. Don't be afraid to call in. 813-699-5353. 813-699-5353. Johnny Dean, I know that, but if the vision problems were in any way severe, then he wouldn't be putting up so many touchdowns and been a starting quarterback in the NFL for this long. But you have to think that he's going to improve, right? No, not at all. He just had the surgery for useless purposes, right? Let's see. You're going to make he's going to make you very proud of him next year, Matt. All right, let's see here. Okay, let me go ahead and take some calls here live on the Sports Web. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Philip Schwegel. I'm calling from Clearwater, Florida.
Oh, what's going on, Schwags? How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good, brother. Miss you, man. How you been?
I've been good, man. I've been real good, real busy. Great guest on this week. Over 2,000 views for most of the shows. I mean, we're killing it, and you're a part of this because you're one of the fine writers. And, of course, the Red Flag Podcast, Mr. Philip Schwegler, one of the best chefs in the house. Of course, I've eaten his food before. And his new co-host, Mr. Blake Anthony of The Blake Anthony Show. So what's on your mind?
Yeah, I was just, Jameis 101 brought up something that I don't know if a lot of people realize, think about the media and how they can curve your ideas or your thoughts about something. But you go back to when, can't remember the guy's name, the guy for the Olympics who found the bomb or whatnot, and how the media completely twisted around that he was the guy who claimed, to make the bomb or whatnot.
Richard
and how
Jewell.
they had that big FBI investigation, blah, blah, blah. And,
Right.
that happens in sports. I mean, you look around, you see a lot of those cases, and especially with Jameis Winston, because we're still talking about the same things that happened at Florida State and, 2012, 2013, whatnot. And it's still going on, still constantly casting a cloud over him. So, that's just a point that I wanted to bring up. The media does have that power to turn that bias on people.
Yeah, no, and that's what I always say. And this is the reason why we do what we do. Let me make this clear. I love what I do on the Sports Web. Look in my eyes right now. Look at the fire. This is what I was meant to do. Host this show. But we're covering the Bucs and the NFL and sports in general because we feel like there's a lack of that.
Yeah,
Especially when it
I totally
comes to
agree.
the Tampa Bay
Look
Bucs.
at your local radio station. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's a lack of Tampa Bay sports. You're listening to Dan Patrick in the morning for 4 hours instead of listening about Tampa Bay's baseball, listening about lightning hockey. They're talking about girls and whatnot.
Right, exactly. Nobody wants to hear that. Explain this to me.
No.
How can somebody go 3 hours and have more commercials and more talk about nothing at all, and somebody who basically just decided to learn about the inside and outside of a camera and the ins and outs on having a mixer and putting a show together can go 2.5 hours with phone calls, but nothing but sports talk? Tell me how that's possible. You know why? Because that person wants it. This platform wants it. That's why they have a 64,000 following. That's why people continue to tune in, because it's great content. And no matter what they say about this or that and the other thing, they cannot take that away. Go ahead.
No, I totally agree with you. And that's why I love all the things we do at Bucksport. I'll give Bucksport a shout out right now. All the great things we do, all these live shows or whatnot. I mean, we talk about sports for 6 hours, 8 hours a day. We can do it. Give us a radio station, we'll do it. But anyways, I just want to bring up real quick again, and I really think this is what the Buccaneers need to do here in this free agency. They need to bulk up that offensive line. They need to make sure they hunker down on that defensive backfield, bring back all those guys up front, and then this team could be really good next year. We saw what happened at the midway point when the defense really started turning it on, and the 5,100 passing yards later and 33 touchdowns. I mean, they only have a few things they need to really solidify this season, and I think they need to start with free agency, and then hopefully, they have enough eggs in their basket for the draft to really fortify a lot of things.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're going to have about $91 to $94 million. They have a lot of decisions to make, 19 free agents. Of course, we talked about the quarterback situation, but you have Shaq Barrett coming off the 19.5 sacks, so you have to figure that out. There was talk he may take less money. We'll see, because, look, this team was the only one that believed in him, okay? So he may take less money. Now, doesn't mean he's not going to get still paid. Then you have to figure out the situation with JPP and Ndamukong Suh and Carl Nassib and Bashard Perryman. And once you find all those situations out, then I would say, depending on what you're going to do in the draft, if you feel like somebody's in the draft at 14 that you can get as an offensive tackle, then you would focus on possibly losing Nassib or Suh. Then you go in the draft and do it that way. If not, and you don't think you're going to draft an offensive lineman at 14, then you address it in free agency by going out there and getting somebody like a Jake Conklin. There's many options to it, and I know there's a lot of people that are not going to be happy with them going out into free agency and just drafting, but that's the reason why you have the combination of both. If you don't draft well, then basically you can go into free agency. The risky part of it, as we always talk about, Phil, is the fact that if you get somebody that doesn't necessarily work in your locker room and he disrupts that chemistry from last year, then you overpaid for him. You basically paid for production the year before, and you're not getting anything in return. Does that make sense?
No, it totally does. And I think that's what the scary part of free agency is, especially the Buccaneers and their past, things in the past about free agency. I mean, other than, JPP really wasn't in the free agency thing, but you look at Shaq Barrett and those kind of guys, but, you never know what you're going to get. One guy could have this huge season like we saw with Shaq Barrett, and then he gets in a totally different system and maybe doesn't have the same chemistry. Maybe he doesn't gel with the players that he's around. And, you look at Deshaun Jackson too. They brought him in thinking he was a deep threat. That didn't really pan out at all. You see Jameis Winston having a problem with Deshaun Jackson throwing deep balls, but look at this past year, led the league in 25+ yard passes with Mike Evans, Rashard Perryman, and, Chris Godwin, guys like that, guys that you didn't think could really make a big, splash like that, especially with Rashard Perryman in that short game. So, free agency is always a scary thing. That's kind of what I'm getting at here. And I just really hope the Buccaneers are smart this year, because I really think they could have something special in 2020.
Good stuff. Mr. Philip Swagler, Red Flag Podcast. His new co-host, Mr. Blake Anthony of Blake and Blake Sports. And, of course, we got Cup of Ray. We can't forget you, Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. We got to pat you on the back because we haven't heard from you tonight, so definitely call in. But thanks a lot for the call, buddy, all right?
All right, my brother. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, there you go. 813-699-5353. It's 813-699-5353. Happy Valentine's Day. Is this electric enough for you? Did you like the content tonight? Call up on the phone lines. Let me know. Say what you have to say, too, because this is your voice. We got one phone line. That's all we need. All I need is one mic, right? Nazir Jones used to say that. Will, man, welcome to the Sports Web. What's on your mind?
What's going on, man? How you doing?
Man, I'm fired up. What do you think, man? It's Friday night.
I'm fired up, man. Dude, I had to watch Mamma Mia and Les Mis. I don't know, but now we're sitting here watching Bucks Report. We're playing Minecraft, so we're doing the nerdy thing now, so we're good.
Okay.
But
well, I
told you I'm gonna go and look in and get in that book.
Yeah, you should. I mean, look, and one phone call at a time, guys. Right now, Will Mann is called in from Wisconsin, so we'll take your calls. Call in again after Will is done. But you're exactly right. The book definitely seems like a good get. A lot of great statistical information and calling out media personalities. I love it. I can't wait to get it. I can't wait to read it.
Have you read it yet?
I haven't read it yet. I need to read more books. The last book I read was Tony Dungy's, right? I mean, and I told Tony Dungy.
Yeah.
So hold up on the phone calls, guys. We got one phone line. I'm sorry. We'll work that out. We'll eventually get multiple phone lines and make me go crazy here, but go ahead, Will.
Man, I just gotta say, I think our secondary is great.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we really need to address that. Just bouncing off Schwagler's comment. I think the only thing we really need to do is just re-sign Jameis. We've had this talk, and the one thing I got to say is that now that he's doing the LASIK eye surgery,
yeah,
and if he was harsh, like if he had some vision problems before, and he's getting the LASIK eye surgery, could he just get better? I mean, are we looking at 6,000 yards passing?
I mean, look,
maybe 40 touchdowns. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out there.
According to Peter King, one of these days somebody's going to throw for 6,000 yards. I mean, I don't think it's that easy. I don't know if you want necessarily him to throw for 6,000 yards, because basically that means, once again, you're a one-dimensional offense. But does he throw a lot? Yes, 41 times a game. You have to cut down on those throws by getting him not only an offensive line to protect him, but open up those holes for the running game. You have to have balance. And I know I keep on saying it over and over again. And once again, it's probably because I'm a Libra, and that's okay because I'm a scale,
Hey,
but
I agree with you. We need to have a run game, but I'm just saying,
right.
If his vision is better,
right,
could this lead to an opportunity of something like that? I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I'm saying, could that open a door of a possibility of that?
I certainly think it's
you
a
never
possibility.
Know. It's the NFL.
Well, Will, I think it's a possibility because he's comfortable in this offense. I mean, he's comfortable his second year in this offense when he's coming back, and I believe he's coming back. Because I don't think somebody plays through a knee injury if they didn't get assurance from an organization saying, look, you're coming back. Why risk your value? Right? Why risk your value if you know you're hurt? That doesn't make any sense at all. And yet he continued to play, which matches up with not only Jameis one-on-one, but also Ian Rappaport's report. Go ahead.
Yeah, Johnny Dean just mentioned in a comment he was trying to call in. I think he was trying to tell you how much he really wants to sign Conklin, and he knows I'm just giving him crap. But he wants to tell you how much he loves Conklin, and he wants to see Conklin in the red and pewter next year. So I just wanted to fill you in on that.
Yeah,
but no,
I think that's untrue.
I'm hoping and praying that we can get. I'm hoping Kinlaw falls to us at 14. I've been seeing 3 or 4 drafts where they're predicting we get Kinlaw.
Yeah.
But I've seen a lot of drafts where we're getting offensive line. Either one's fine by me.
Well,
but
it's a mock draft.
In my heart of hearts, I really want Kinlaw.
Yeah, it depends on the combine, and we'll have the combine here in a couple of weeks, and you just never know with a prospect running a bad 40 time or getting injured or not necessarily going out there and giving good interviews or even getting drug tested. I'll never understand this, Will, and everybody out there. You have the biggest interview in your life and you decide to smoke pot or do drugs. What are you thinking? Go ahead.
Oh, man. Josh Gordon, man. That's all I could say.
Yeah.
That guy, man, he's right there. Taste point right there. Sooner or later, I want to say within the next 6 to 8 months that it's going to be completely legal without the whole country. And we're not going to have to worry about that anymore. But, until that happens, the NFL is going to have to worry about it. So,
right. Well, look,
all you college kids, man, you better just hunker down on that one.
Don't do it. What is it worth? Is it worth costing yourself millions of dollars? Hello? You cost yourself millions of dollars if you want to smoke pot. Doesn't make any sense. Anything else, Will?
Nope, that's about it, man. Keep up all the good work. I think my future wifey might call in later on.
All right, man.
After she finishes wrapping this up.
My friend, you did a good job of corrupting your wife. I like this. I like what you put out there, buddy. Good job. Thanks a lot, Will, for calling.
Man, I just got to make her a Bucks fan, man.
You just keep on working on that, okay? All right, guys. I'll talk to you later.
All right, man. See ya.
There you go. 813-699-5353. 813-699-5353. As I've said before, well, we're going to go out to the phone line. Welcome to the Sports Web. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Fred DeCourt, man, calling from Tampa, Florida.
What's going on, Fred? Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television.
How's it going, man?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing?
Not bad, man. I'm calling because I think we need to get Matt Breida.
Matt Breida, okay, as a running back. I mean, it's certainly, I think, one of those possibilities where the Bucs are going to look at it. I would tend to favor David Johnson, but looking at what the general manager said today, I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen.
I think we need to be kind of like the 49ers and have like a three running back committee rotation.
Sure.
And I think Matt Breida fits in better with Peyton Barber and Rojo than DJ. DJ, I feel like he's just too injury prone.
Well, look, that's certainly a possibility, and I'll tell you why, Fred, because can Breida pass block? Because if he can pass block, then he definitely has an advantage over Rojo at this point. Rojo's definitely got to work on it, and that was one of his troubles last year. Peyton Barber, I'm not sure if he's going to come back or not. I believe he's a free agent, so they definitely are going to have to fill that need either through free agency or the draft. I could see Johnson because of the fact he knows Coach Arians' offense. But according to Steve Keim today, the general manager of the Cardinals, he's saying cutting him is not an option. So could he be up on the trade block? Possibility. His production is dipped. He's been hurt the last couple of years. But for me, in my heart of hearts, that is the move that I could see the Bucs making as a splash.
Yeah, I understand that, and we definitely need to address Dotson and replace Dotson. A lot of people want to move Donovan Smith to the right side. Me, I'm okay with Donovan staying on the left as long as we get an adequate replacement for Dotson. And they need to be a veteran. We can't throw a rookie over there. But we gotta figure this out, because obviously if we're gonna be having Jameis pass the ball 50 times a game, we gotta have a better offensive line that's gonna hold up.
Agree. I mean, you can't give up 47 sacks, and look, it's one of the most overpaid lines in the league, and they're overpaid because they're not getting it done. And I get it. They had injuries to that line last year with Wells and Watford taking over, and they were a human turnstile in that Carolina game. You have to do a better job. And there could be a cut, or there could be some restructures on that line. For me, if you're not going to address it, and I think a lot of people believe, and I believe the same thing, they're going to address it at number 14. But if they feel like they can't get an offensive lineman at number 14 and they lose one of these defensive ends, say a JPP or a Nassib, and they have to address that defensive end situation more than the offensive line, then you go out and get a Jake Conklin, even though you're going to have to pay some big-time money for him. But at the end of the day, it's about getting somebody that is proven, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I saw you shared my post the other day about Conklin and Breida.
And by the way, welcome to Bucs Report. I know that we haven't gotten a chance to really talk, but I know you're a part of Bucs Report, and I love the fact that you are a part of this family, because it's a great platform, and this is the kind of guy right here that we continue to add guys like this that continue to contribute to this platform. So welcome once again. I didn't get a chance to really tell you that.
Well, yeah. Awesome to meet you. I actually met you at training camp briefly.
Did you?
Yeah. You were doing your thing, and I came by and I saw you, and I introduced myself. But it was training camp, and things were happening and all that.
Small world, my friend. Small world. It's good to meet you again and talk to you once again. So, yeah, Jake Conklin to me, a lot of people said, 6 years, $91 million. That equals out to about $15-16 million a year. And people say, well, the Bucs have gone into free agency and haven't done a good job. Well, look, he's not Anthony Collins, okay? He's not a one-year wonder. This is a former first-round pick. He had an injury a couple years ago. He kind of struggled to get back, but now he's fully back, and is one of the main reasons why that Titans offensive line did so well with Derrick Henry running behind it.
I know, and I tried to explain that to my buddy. Is that you want to get an offensive lineman from Tennessee. Tennessee's dominated the league in rushing the last 3-4 years. The scheme and the guys that they draft is.
Well, I think we lost him. So Fred, you have to call back, but I think we lost you. So open phone line 813-699-5353, 813-699-5353. Kevin Clayton was trying to call in again. Want to read these comments if I can talk tonight here on the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Somebody says Jameis 101 is about to set the Sports Web on fire. I think he pretty much did, right? And you thought that he was just going to come on here and I was just going to throw him softball questions? No way, man. No way. That's not how we go here. No freaking way. Because I'm doing this, we do it right. We're going to ask you the questions that the fans want to know. That's the evolution of sports talk television. That's it. Let's see. The same pair of eyeballs threw for 5,109 yards, 33 touchdowns. In my humble opinion, you wouldn't have those kind of numbers if he had the vision problems. Well, I don't know about that. Matt Colson from Oklahoma City. Welcome to the evolution of sports talk television.
Hey.
Hey.
I had to call in. I got to defend myself.
Defend yourself.
You realize that I'm a contrarian. I say a lot of stuff just so you'll get pissed off. That's my job.
I know.
That's why I'm here. I mean, that's the truth.
Right.
I don't agree with you because if everybody agreed with you, then you'd have a cult. We don't want to have that. You want to have conversation.
Absolutely.
So
sure.
That's where I stand on that. But I haven't talked to you in a couple of weeks. I've been offline for a while. I guess I got didn't find any reason to call in.
Uh-oh.
But I wanted to ask you about, because I probably missed the show. I know you probably talked about it. The uniforms that they did that little splash on the other day,
sure.
The teaser.
Mm-hmm.
Are they looking at going back to the orange and black or orange and red? Is that what I'm understanding?
From the teaser video, and you take it for whatever it's worth, it was the pirate ship. They have a little bit of gray in there. There's definitely some more orange, and there's red. It looks like blood red. So it kind of looks like they may be going back and forth. I don't know what to think. I can get on this show and speculate about uniforms, but I tend to want to be surprised because after the god-awful uniforms with the alarm clock numbers, I think anything at this point will be better. Right?
Oh, God, yes. I got to believe we're the worst-looking team in the league.
Right.
And I think a lot of people would say that. And I was just curious because I'm not in the area, so they haven't announced when they're going to make an official statement on that.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what I understand?
Well, there's nothing concrete at this point. I mean, they put the teaser out, so everybody assumes with the jerseys being 40% off if your local outlets there, that they're going to change their uniforms. And finally, there was some confirmation from the organization. Now, when they announce that, it could be most likely before free agency. Who knows? I mean, what if?
Well, they got to do it when they got to start selling jerseys, right?
Matt, they came out with a new jersey and the new starting quarterback would be the same starting quarterback in 2019, Jameis Winston?
Well, I'll say this again.
Yes.
If he would do 3,000 yards and we have a running game and he throws for 15 interceptions instead of 40 or 30, and he ends up with 3,500 yards, I'd rather have that. He'd rather have that. I'm sure his hips and his knees would feel better.
Right.
Because he wouldn't be getting beat to the ground all the time.
Well,
right now, the way it is, if you're going to believe what Jason Light just told you on the phone, it's not his fault. He's the next greatest thing in the world.
Come on, Matt. That's not Jason Light. Now stop trolling. You know it's not Jason Light.
Okay, now I want you to do this.
Go ahead.
Because you have technology and Keith Larson has technology.
Sure, Matt.
Take a Jason Light press conference tape and play it next to that audio that you just had and put it on a spectrogram and see if it doesn't match. I swear to God.
It's not.
That's so close that it's almost unbelievable that it isn't him.
It sounds similar, but he's not Jason Light. He's a totally different guy, my friend. And look,
have you met him in person, or are you just looking at his mask?
I haven't met.
Because he didn't want to call in because he wanted to mask his phone number the last time he was going to be on.
Matt, I'll tell you what. Let me give you a call back. Call me back. I got somebody else calling in who's been trying to get in. Call back. All right. I had to take this call. Hold on a sec here. Wow, the phone lines tonight are just blowing up. Welcome to the Sports Web, Mr. Kevin Clayton.
Yeah, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there.
Okay, so
Anyway, I listened to your Winston Whisperer you had on here.
okay.
With all the other say, and of course, as you know better than anybody, I'm a huge Seminole fan.
Mm-hmm.
Been for decades. I'm a huge Lions fan.
Okay.
As you well know.
Right.
All right. We were talking about Winston in the Stafford comparison.
Sure.
And he said that Winston's better than Stafford.
No.
I find that a joke.
No.
To be honest with you.
I don't think he said that.
Now,
he said they're very comparable and they're covered.
No. I heard completely what he said. That Winston is better than Stafford.
Well, right now, I mean,
what he
you're
said.
26 years old compared to Stafford, who's 31, 32 years old. I would take Winston over Stafford. Sorry. Yeah, I'm not bringing a quarterback in that has a bad back.
Well, I'm going to say the majority of the NFL would take Stafford over Winston any day right now.
Well, you think so?
Oh, God, yes.
Okay.
In a heartbeat.
Okay.
In a heartbeat.
Who told you that? The media?
Not the media. The play on the field.
Okay. Well,
if you watch the game.
Well, I watched.
You got to watch the games.
I'm watching the games, and I didn't see him play that much last year. Did you?
Well, his first year, he played 7 games. He was playing as a Pro Bowl caliber player last year and through week 7. Yes, he had his best year ever last year through week 7. He was to go head into the Pro Bowl, no doubt. Hands down, not even a topic.
Look,
where he was heading. He had MVP talk about him in week 6 and week 7 when he got injured.
Okay. So then why am I hearing reports that the Lions may get rid of him and draft?
Well, at 32 years old with 2 back injuries.
Okay.
It is my theory.
Okay.
Now, Tua didn't have hip injury. Yeah, you move on. The rest of your team is all young. You've got a wide receiver who is about 24, Galladay. You've got your running back who was like 21 years old. You've got your tight end who you just drafted. Right. The whole team is young. He's the old man in the group. Right? He's like the Tom Brady, so to speak, in a different direction of ages. But you move on at this point where you got a new franchise quarterback. I could see that happening.
You just tried to convince me that Winston was not as good as Stafford, but you just told me basically what the point that I made. He's had 2 back injuries, and I get it. You're a Lions fan, Kevin.
And he's still better. Yes, he's still better.
Okay. Well.
And he's still better. But his numbers showed it last year prior to the injury. The injuries are the concern, not the play on the field. Now, you take a look at Stafford's first 9 years in the NFL. What quarterback is the first quarterback to 40,000 yards? Which I'm hearing all these yards. It's 5,000 yards.
Sure.
Which quarterback was the first quarterback to 40,000 yards in NFL history?
I know who it is. I know exactly who it is.
Okay.
You're going to tell me.
Oh, tell me. Tell everybody.
Well, I'm telling you, it's Matt Stafford. Okay, but
that's right. Okay. No, hang on. Now, how many playoff wins does Matt Stafford have in 10 years?
I don't think he has any, buddy.
Exactly. And okay, now that takes care of the yards. The yards don't mean diddly crap.
Wait a minute.
Okay, going back. Hang on, let me finish. You're trying to cut me off here. Now, in Matt Stafford's first 9 years in the NFL, how many 100-yard running backs did he have? 100-yard running backs in his first 9 years, 16 games every year. How many 100-yard running backs played for the Lions?
He had no running backs.
No, there were 7. There were 7 in the first 9 years. They rushed for 100 yards. So now, what does every defense do to play the Lions for his first 9 years in the NFL?
Right.
Do they worry about the run? No, they pin their ears back and go right after him.
Right.
He had to throw into defenses that were coming after him every play. Now, how many interceptions is the most that Matt Stafford ever threw in the season?
I don't know that.
How many is the most?
Okay, I don't know the exact number on that. Really, I have to.
Well, I can give it to you. I'll help you out. It's 20. It was 1 year. He had 20 in 1 year.
Well.
Okay, now hang on. Hang on. Time out. We're not done yet. I'm not done with you.
Okay.
He had 2 years. He's got 2 years now where he didn't throw more than 10 plus touchdowns to interceptions.
Okay.
Now, there were 2 years. It was his first year in the NFL, and he had one other year, a couple of years after that. He had 2 in his whole career.
Okay.
Throwing into teams, playing defenses, they came after him every play because there was no running game, no offensive line. He's had to deal with that every single year after year after year after year. How many quarterbacks can deal with that? We saw Winston. He can't deal with that for 1 year.
Wait a minute. He has dealt with it. He's dealt with it, and people.
Yeah, 30 interceptions. I saw. I saw 30 interceptions. And you want to know something else?
Kevin.
Mr. Blake, I'm a huge Jameis fan, as you know. I'm a huge Seminole fan. I love Jameis.
Kevin, he had 1 year, 30 interceptions in a new offense. Most of every quarterback in this offense.
How many offenses does Stafford play for? Playing with the same exact result. No running game, no offensive line. Half the time, didn't have no wide receivers. He didn't have 2 Pro Bowl wide receivers ever.
Okay, but
not ever.
But you're talking about the same situation that Jameis Winston's going through. And he basically had to be thrown out there to the dogs with a bad offensive line, with no running game, with no defense.
And with the best wide receivers in football.
Okay, but what does that matter?
Who gets 2 Pro Bowl wide receivers on one team?
Okay.
Who gets that?
First and foremost,
nobody.
Hold on. First and foremost, he had 1 year of Godwin, who actually Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. You're gonna have to wait up. First and foremost, he had 2 wide receivers this year. And the reason why those wide receivers are good is because of Jameis Winston. Now, I don't care how many freaking wide receivers you have on the outside. If you're continually getting hit and getting sacked, you're going to commit some turnovers. That's why it's all predicated
Matthew
on
Stafford. Well, what did Matthew Stafford deal with his whole career?
Okay.
Now, to listen to you, now see, your guy, I believe a lot of what your guy says. Your guy who you interviewed, he was good. I don't no report bad about anything he had to say.
Okay.
He had very good points. But when he said that Winston was better than Stafford, there is no way that Winston could endure that for 11 years like Stafford has and come up with the numbers that Stafford came with and be the first quarterback to 40,000 yards in his career. There's no way it's possible. That's not happening. And I'm a huge fan of Jameis Winston. I'm a huge Seminole fan. I love Jameis Winston. And I hope he turns his career all around. And I hope this eye surgery helps out. And I hope if he stays there, great. And wherever he lands, I hope he does well.
Okay.
There's nothing against Jameis Winston at all. He brought us a championship at FSU.
Right.
So there's no negative, commentary, no way to want to downplay him. I like him.
I honestly think what he was saying is that Winston is covered worse than Matt Stafford. But at the end of the day, if you're looking at quarterbacks right now, not about resume, because you can look at Tom Brady and say, well, he's got 6 championships. The resume fills it, right? But right now, Jameis Winston is a better quarterback than Matt Stafford, in my opinion, because of the injury situation. He had 2 back surgeries or 2.
No, you are correct. But when he was on the field, his play was by far better. On the field.
But locally here, people will say trade for Matt Stafford instead of having Jameis Winston. It's ludicrous. Look, Stafford.
Well, I'm gonna tell you one thing. For Matt Stafford, here's what I'm gonna say. One thing about Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford, for him in his career, he would be great. It would be good for him to leave Detroit. He can get out of there and have a new beginning and go to a contender, not some pretender. He's 32 years old. He's had some injuries, but his arm is second to none. His arm, he throws sidearm. He gets out of everything. He's been on a crappy team, and your commentator was completely right.
Right.
The Lions suck in so many ways.
Right.
This is true.
Right.
But for Matt Stafford, for his career, he needs to leave and go somewhere with a contender, and they will win something.
I'm not disagreeing with you on that, but I'm saying right now, if you're putting it at my attention and saying, who do I want? I want the younger option, who's not going to be injured and have back problems.
Well, you're not a contender. If you're a contender, you want that. You want the Tom Brady. You want somebody at that point.
Why would you wait? Why would you want to get rid of a 26-year-old quarterback for somebody that you know is going to only be around maybe 1 or 2 years? And there's no guarantee those quarterbacks coming.
It's a bridge. It's like Phillip Rivers.
It's a bridge to nowhere. It's a bridge to nowhere at that point. You've got the quarterback here. It's Jameis Winston.
That's a matter of opinion. I'm not disagreeing with you. I say you franchise him. I say you franchise Winston. You franchise him. Don't let him go. I'm not saying you get rid of him.
Kevin,
but you don't get his own long-term deal. That's for damn sure. You don't do that.
Kevin, you just stated that Matt Stafford has gone through the same thing with Jameis Winston, and you don't want to get rid of Matt Stafford. So why do you think this organization would get rid of
I'd be fine. No, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. If they wanted to trade for Tua right now for that opportunity, how often can you get the best player in the whole draft? How often do you have that opportunity? But he has the injury too.
I don't think he's
the issue.
I don't think he's the best player in the draft, by the way. Tua is a red
talent-wise
injury risk.
Talent-wise, if he's healthy, he goes number one.
If he's healthy.
Without the injury, without the hip injury,
he hasn't been able to stay healthy his full college career.
Like I said, all I'm saying, I'm agreeing. I'm not disagreeing. I'm saying without the hip injury, he's the most talented player in the draft. At quarterback. He is. Without the injury. Now, that's a big issue if he didn't have that. But the Lions could gamble. They could gamble. They could go that route. And they can still get something for Stafford. And if they do that, they drop $29 million or $30 million off the cap. You know what that would do to their defense? Off his salary, where they can put in other positions. It's kind of like looking at Tom Brady. He took $15 million a year for years. He's got 6 rings because he did that.
He ain't doing that now.
They had money to put his brother on the whole team.
But he ain't doing that now on free agency. And you're
no, he wants to get paid finally. He wants to make more money than his wife for 1 year.
Exactly.
At least.
Exactly. And I wouldn't pay him the money, no matter if he's Tom Brady or not, because his skills have decreased. They're not as good as he used to be.
The only one that should pay Tom Brady over $30 million is the New England Patriots. That's the only team that should ever pay him over $30 million is the Patriots.
Right.
But then there's the other side of the coin now. Say he wanted to go to Las Vegas. Say he wanted to go out there with Gruden and everything.
Sure.
And now Vegas is a money town and everything.
Sure.
You know where the sales are going to go for the tickets, the everything, the notoriety of Tom Brady for the organization,
even for the LA Chargers. No, I agree with you on that. You're going to sell tickets, but at the end of the day, it's also about winning football games. I don't care how many tickets you sell. Can you win with Tom Brady right now? Can you win? That's what I want to know.
Well, do you know how much money your Tampa Bay Buccaneers would make here? Tampa Bay would make with Tom Brady for a year or two?
That goes away. It's a year or two.
That would be crazy.
It's a year or two, and you don't even know if he's going to fit your offense or not. Come on, man. You put him behind this offense.
Well, here's the thing. I'm a Cubs fan also, as you well know.
Yes,
I'm a Cubs fan. They lost. They didn't win a World Series for 108 years.
Yes.
We finally won it about 3 years ago. We finally won it once the Tribune sold the team.
Right.
Now, with that team right there, they're owned by the Chicago Tribune. They didn't care about winning baseball games. They could care less. Who the hell cares? We're a business. We're the Tribune. We own the Cubs, but the stands are full. Our payroll is very low, and we're making tons of money. It's a business.
Yeah, it's a business.
Huh?
But the business doesn't make sense if you put a first-year quarterback in a system where quarterbacks struggle with throwing interceptions, no matter if it's Tom Brady or whoever it is. And behind this offensive line, it doesn't make sense. You do know. You do.
I understand. What I'm saying to you, though, is I was just saying, say the Buccaneers. I've heard of Brady coming here. But for the Glazer family, for a couple of years, you know what that would make them?
I don't know if he has even a couple years. I don't know.
It'd be a circus, but Tom Brady came to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Would it not be a circus around here?
It's already a circus. What are you talking about?
No, I'm talking about a circus financially. Everybody and their brother would want to go to games.
It's already
they would jump off the hook.
You're a clown, and I'm P.T. Barnum here on the Sports Web. Anything else?
All right, Pete.
I love you, brother.
Love you, buddy.
All right, there you go. So there you go. Right. A little yelling match here between me and Kevin Clayton, 813-699-5353. I feel sorry for him. He's a Lions fan. And he deals with the same thing. All right, let's go back out to the phone lines. Welcome to the Sports Web. Let me just read some comments here on the evolution of sports talk television. All right, let's see what Ben says. Okay, we read that. Pound the share button. Andrew says, did the Bucs not say picking up his option was his prove-it year? If we give him one more season, he goes 5,500 yards, 35-35, and gets us 8-8. Do we continue on the prove-it years? No, I don't think he's going to do that. I don't think he's going to throw 35. Yeah, everybody's entranced with that number, but the reality of the situation coming into this year, he only averaged 14.5 interceptions. Okay, so the Bucs to me have to make a concerted effort to not only improve that offensive line, which will take the pressure off of him. Because if you have pressure on him, you know that he's not good in those pressure situations. And also you have to limit the throws. You can't ask a quarterback to throw 41 times a game and win games. You just can't. And I don't care what anybody says. Even the Chiefs had to have a running game in the Super Bowl to win. You have to do it. Good stuff, Andrew. Appreciate you. All right. Johnny Dean said the Bucs need to sign Conklin. No, he didn't. You can get LASIK before 25. Not what I've heard of. I don't think you can, Ari, but well, let's argue with doctors. There's no doubt he had vision problems. He has since FSU. It is well documented. And of course, we've seen the squinting. Want to get all the webheads out of here. Of course, he wants a big contract. Every time I try to give Jameis credit, he goes out and spots a team a free touchdown. My bad. I should have just overlook it. I think it would be good to franchise Winston at this point, but could still see him being moved on from just no long-term deal. Now for him is all as the jury is still out. We all want a big contract. Yes, we do. We want a contract. Some people out there want a contract on my life with the way I talk about Winston sometimes. That's a joke. Relax. 813-699-5353. 813-699-5353. Vinny Testaverde got surgery to correct his color blindness and then took the Jets to the playoffs and also had successful years with the then Cleveland Browns and Bill Belichick and also the Baltimore Ravens. And, of course, the Jets taking them all the way to the AFC Championship game in 1998, where they eventually lost to the Denver Broncos. And then the Broncos played the other former Tampa Bay Buccaneer quarterback, Chris Chandler, for the Atlanta Falcons. I believe that was the year. If you hate Jameis, you think some other quarterback can do better. Bucs won't be bad with him. After the CBA next year, the market value for quarterback will go up $10 to $15 million per year. He's going to make you very proud this year. We read that comment, wanted to read it again. Johnny Dean, I know that, but if vision problems were in any way severe, then he wouldn't be putting up so many touchdowns and been a starting quarterback in the NFL for so long. I'm not about to sit here and say the reason why he got it. He felt like he needed to get it done. It was a problem. Coach Arians has said he can't see the scoreboard. I think it definitely improves his game. I'm nearsighted myself. I wear glasses and contacts. He chose not to. He chose not to wear goggles because the sweat gets into his eyes. I don't know. I don't know the personal story, but what I do know is he got it done for a reason. So if it improves his situation. All right, Johnny Dean, welcome to the Sports Web.
Hey, what's up, Peter?
Doing good, buddy. How you doing? How'd you like that interview tonight, or those interviews? We had Allison Koehler on, Tampa Bay Vipers beat writer, and then we had Jameis 1 of 1.
You mean Joel Siegel 1 of 1? Okay, yeah,
whatever,
got it.
Whatever. I don't know.
Oh man! All right, me and Ray Kennedy have been talking on the phone since he couldn't get in. He was trying to deflect the Matthew Stafford talk. I want to know one thing.
Yes.
Oh, actually, two things.
Yes.
One thing is, why do you hang up on me and then let that guy yell at you?
I don't hang up on you. I never hang up on you.
Yeah, don't say you never hung up on me because I got witnesses.
Once.
And it was for a lot less than that guy was doing.
Petunia. How many times have I let you call on the show, huh? You little snowflake.
All right,
you.
number two.
Yes.
When in the hell, after 4 months of waiting, we are ready to see a veggie omelet eaten by Peter Blake.
Well, when Ray Kennedy's always doing these Cup of Rays, when he decides where he wants me to go and we can set it up with a restaurant and make it an event, because I'm not doing this on my cell phone. Okay, I don't do things like that. Yes, Travis Fraley has tuned in. He's going to say you're self-glossing right now. So what? And my dad would say the same thing. God bless you, Dad. I'm sorry you're shaking your head right now. Sorry about that. But listen, we're going to make this an event. All right? If we're going to do a veggie omelet, which I can't stand, and have lost a relationship over because the girl wanted to cook me eggs in the morning. I wouldn't eat them because she wanted to put vegetables in them. You can't put vegetables in eggs. You can only put bacon and cheese in them. But look, if we're going to do this right, we got to put together a restaurant that have Philip Schwegler make a veggie omelet, have me sit there and eat the whole thing, and have a great edition of the Sports Web, whether it's Sunday morning or Saturday morning. We got to do it up big, my friend. That's your answer.
I think we need to be making an event of it. I think we need a date set. I think we need Philip Schwegler and Ray Kennedy at your house making sure it's done right.
At my house.
And Alexander's not eating it. Not you
No.
are eating it, not Alexander.
Well, I got a good story really quick here. I was starting a new diet at the time. I had mom make some eggs because I couldn't make eggs at the time. This is maybe about 15, 20 years ago. And, the personal trainer says, you got to eat white eggs. So I was like, okay, I'm going to eat white eggs, got white eggs. I'll have mom make them up because I can't make them because I'll burn them. She makes them. And then I took one bite of them and I wanted to just throw them at the friggin' wall. True story, threw them at the dog. Dog ate them up like a snake in the backyard. That's it for white eggs. Never white eggs. There's only one way you can have eggs. Scrambled, yellow, that's it. Anything else, stop it. Go ahead.
That's it for me, man. Except for that Conklin crap. Get off of it, man.
Man, look. Hey, look. Whoa. You're not. Oh, he's done. Wow, he just left. He said, off with that Conklin stuff. Look, I'm just saying, if they have an opportunity to improve their offensive line and they feel like this is the best move and they can get a defensive end or defensive tackle, depending on what happens in free agency, they want to go for Conklin. I'm not hating it. He's an upgrade. He's a proven commodity, which is what you have to get. Great tackles don't grow on trees, my friend. 26 years old, former first-round pick, high PFF grade this year. One of the main reasons why Derrick Henry ran roughshod over the Patriots. Right? Over the Ravens. That's the reason why. You got to get guys like that. All right. Okay, we read that already. Let's see here. Maybe you should take him out for a cup of coffee. All right. Welcome to the Sports Web. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
What's going on, everybody in sports web land in Bucks Report? This is Travis Bailey from Rocket Sports and Entertainment, ready to chime in on some NFL and some NHL, ladies and gentlemen. What do you guys got going on tonight, Mr. Peter Blake? And I'll stop with this horrendous voice right now.
Well, look, if you're trying to sound like me, I know first and foremost, I don't freaking sound like that. Second, this is Travis Bailey of Rocket Sports and Entertainment, our Tampa Bay Lightning insider, around the NFL correspondent of the Sports Web.
Listen, Pete, I wasn't trying to mock you, okay? I wasn't trying to mock you. Nobody mocks Peter Blake like Peter Blake, all right?
We have to do a mock of, we have to do a mock draft. We have to do a mock of Peter King. So what? So what?
Hey, and if you guys do decide to do some stupid veggie omelet show,
yes,
please do not tag me in that, okay? I won't be watching. That's for damn sure, along with everybody else.
You'll watch because I tell you to watch, because you have to watch, because this is compelling sports television. All right, it's the evolution.
I'd rather watch synchronized swimming. How about that? I digress. Hey, what'd you think of Myles Garrett coming out and still saying that Mason Rudolph called him dropped the N-bomb on him?
He learned nothing from the whole experience, and I thought the NFL was light on him. They should have had him suspended for at least the first couple games. You can't rip somebody's helmet off and swing wildly. He's lucky he didn't crush the man's skull, especially with
Pete. I've been saying that the whole time. Yep. If he just misses him with not hitting him with the padding by 2 to 3 inches, his head explodes like an overripened tomato all over the field. Jeez. I will tell you this. It surely makes those games must-watch TV between Pittsburgh and Cleveland this year. And, it also puts the stigma of, is Mason Rudolph a racist? And is Myles Garrett just playing the race card? So, I mean, it takes it that way. Who's going to be a marked citizen or not citizen, but who's going to be the marked player on the field? Possibly both of them, correct?
Well, Mason Rudolph is most
You see what I'm getting?
Right.
You see what I'm getting to right there?
Right. He's not going to start. Ben Roethlisberger will be back, but you're exactly right. It was already a heated rivalry. It's going to be even more heated. It's going to be must-watch television, especially with a new coach who they hired, who they have some big expectations. And look, the Browns are still talented. It's going to be compelling television any way it goes, because you have Baker Mayfield and you have Odell Beckham, but you put the Pittsburgh Steelers in there, and there's a report that Le'Veon Bell may head back there because he had his most success there. Oh my gosh, amazing, right? So you have him possibly back, and I know that Antonio Brown's not going to get back there, but Ben Roethlisberger. So yeah, it's going to be compelling television, but the NFL clearly dropped the ball, because if their whole emphasis, Travis, is the fact that they're trying to protect players with safety issues, especially with concussions, they should have kept that suspension going, right?
Absolutely, 100%, Pete. And let's flip the sport a little bit here.
Sure.
What'd you think of the kick to the chest by Kaysen on Cernak, and how many games should the NHL give Kaysen?
At least 5 to 10. I mean, you could have cut somebody with kicking them with your blade, and people are saying, "Oh, well, it's Cernak's fault." No, it's not. Watch the damn replay. Of course it's...
Hold on. Who is saying that it was Cernak's fault? Are you kidding me? Why? Because he was holding him down a little bit? Come on, that doesn't justify anybody to, with a skate blade, with a deadly weapon on to, try to kick you in the chest. And thankfully, the hockey players have chest pads on, to stop the puck from going 100 miles an hour and hitting him in the chest.
Yeah.
Or the guy could have got seriously hurt. Or if the skate blade is up a couple inches, that's a serious injury.
Yeah.
And to me, if it's not 10 games, I think that's really lax by the NHL.
It really is lax, and you're exactly right. There could have been a big-time injury there and something that the NHL doesn't want to experience, because all it takes is just one of those type of gruesome injuries, and then you have people starting to shout, you know what, the NHL is too much of a dangerous sport. You don't want them to do that. You don't want a black eye for the NHL, because it is such a great league with so many great players who work hard, great personalities, and I just love the hell out of the Tampa Bay Lightning, what they've done lately with Vasilevsky, and being without the likes of Kucherov and Stamkos and Jan Ruda and Ryan McDonough. They've been without. Yeah, that's right. I know some hockey. Being without all those players and still being able to play at a high level where we haven't seen this before, Travis. They're getting back to that style of hockey where you believe that they're going to get to the Stanley Cup final because they're limiting the opposing team to not that many shots. In fact, I think the other night they only limited Columbus to like 5 shots in the third period. You're going to win all day long.
Yeah, they're playing much tighter defensively, Pete, and it's but the proof is going to be in the pudding once they if they get past the first round and they have to go up against the arch nemesis Capitals. I mean we can play against Boston. You can play against pretty much anybody else in the NHL, but they got to get past Washington. And I know that seems silly, but you just look at the records and you look at the previous experience in the postseason, and it's been a battle between Boston, the Capitals, and the Bruins, the Capitals, and the Lightning over the last few years to come out of the East. And let's get past Washington in the playoffs, and then we can start talking some Stanley Cup. But absolutely. I do like the makeup of this team, Pete. They are playing much better, like I said previously, defensively, and even with these injuries that they've had. And, and Vasilevsky's being a rock star right now, but you sort of got to worry about the amount of minutes that he's getting from with Cooper. I have a feeling that Vasilevsky getting towards the playoffs is going to definitely need some time, and they're going to battle it for, against Boston for the 1 seed. And coming out of the division, so we'll see how it plays out. But right now they're playing top of the game. Let's hope they're not peaking too soon.
Yeah,
we've seen that before.
We'll see tomorrow against Philadelphia. They're going for a 10-game winning streak, correct? At 4:00.
Absolutely, home game, 4:00 tomorrow. Nice early start. Get over the bridge a little early. Go grab some lunch before the game. Get out there and support this club. It's going to be a beautiful day and beautiful time on ice tomorrow. Cold steel on ice. Oh, I'm changing it from the Blackhawks to the Lightning. Cold steel on ice, baby. Get out there, support your Tampa Bay Lightning.
All right, good stuff. Yes, bam. Hot takes from Travis Faley of Rocket Sports and Entertainment. Yes.
And lastly, Pete, I thought Bellinger, and we're going around the circle. I know you got Bucks report guys out there. Kill me whenever I bring up all these other sports on the sports web. But man, gotta love Cody Bellinger coming out and calling out the Astros and Altuve with a potential buzzer under the shirt.
What a complete disgrace.
Last year. I thought it was great.
Complete disgrace with the Astros and whatever the hell that was, the press conference. There was no contrition at all. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, wait up. Call back here when Travis is done. We're almost done here with Travis Faley. I don't know what that was. It was a complete...
You'll never be done with me, Peter Blake. Never done with me.
All right, Travis Faley. I don't know what the owner was saying, but they're all liars at this point. And when the owner says 58 seconds in, we didn't feel like it was really affecting the game, and then goes, oh, it was affecting game. Oh, I didn't say that. Yes, you did, you idiot. We heard it 58 seconds in. You did say that it didn't affect the World Series, which it did. It absolutely did.
Pete, and Unfortunately, or fortunately for the Astros, however you want to look at it, they did win their division by 22 games. If they only won their division by a few games and they happen to win it down the stretch, not that it's not as tainted as it is now, but you have to look at every game that they were doing that in at home. Their statistics are through the roof, not only from a team standpoint, but from a player standpoint.
Yep.
You have to look at every one of those games that they played and won at home or even lost at home and wipe them out because they were cheating the whole time. And if they would have only won by a couple of games, this would even be looked at with even more of a microscope. It's unbelievable. And if it comes out that Altuve was wearing some kind of electronic device, which, if it really looks like it to me, because nobody in the world is talking about their jersey as they just hit a monster series-winning home run off a really difficult closer in Chapman.
Yep.
And you're running around, you just won the pennant, and you're worried about taking people ripping your shirt off.
Because
it's one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in my 49 years of being on this earth.
Travis,
somebody doing that, because I've never seen it before.
He said his wife told him he couldn't tear the jersey. Come on, man. Come up with something else than that. That was just ridiculous.
What are you going to do, though, Pete? What are you going to do? He was cold and didn't want it, his rock hard nipples to be shown on national TV because he was a little chilly. He didn't want his shirt ripped off. Come on, man. It's ridiculous.
It's so stupid. And Chapman is so tough to hit. And look, everybody says, well, you got to hit the ball. Well, look, if you have an advantage and you know what pitch is coming, of course, that's why I always go back to steroids. These guys are already Hall of Famers without steroids. But why do they do it? Well, longevity. And also, of course, it gives them more of a power advantage where they can stick around. It's an advantage.
And ego. Well, you also got to look at Altuve signing that monster deal in 2018 right off that World Series.
Right.
Look at that. I mean, that was monster money. And then you start comparing, that cheating with Bonds is cheating, et cetera, all the way down the line. But my last question for you, Pete, and this is a really important one. I want you to think about this for a second, before you answer. It's very important. So what are you getting those $2 and $3 streetwalkers for Valentine's Day?
Nothing, you jerk, because they don't exist. I'm here with you talking to this jerk right now. Travis Philly of Rocket and Sports Entertainment. Love you, brother.
Love you too, pal. Talk to you guys later, and killing it out there, Bucks Report, and we'll be out there covering the Vipers. So it's going to be a great time, guys. Looking forward to it.
We'll see. Well, I know you'll be out there. We'll see if we'll be out there. But thanks a lot for calling the evolution of sports talk television. All right, boss?
You're welcome, brother. Talk to you soon.
All right. Open phone line, 813-699-5353. 813-699-5353. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. Feel free to call in. Please, guys, let Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy call in because I'm not ignoring you, my friend. It's just been a completely busy night, but this is why I do it. This is why you do sports talk, television, or radio. And if you don't do it for this reason, then why are you doing it? You do this for the interaction. You do this for the fans. You do this for the debate and the yelling back and forth and talking and laughing. 11 o'clock at night, don't matter. Happy Valentine's Day. Sports Web rolls on. 813-699-5353. 813-699-5353. All right, so I read that comment. Okay, listening to the best sports talk show in the Tampa Bay area, the Sports Web, with Bucks Report. That would be Miss Sandra Nagel, my mother. There you go. Check is in the mail as always. Good stuff. I'm going broke. Wondering why I can't budget? Because I'm paying somebody every night to come in and say that. No, I don't think I am, but who knows? She did good. Jameis 101. Love you, Mom. We're both calling. Well, Deontay, if you're calling in, please call in. But let's give Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy the opportunity here. Vinny Testaverde pulled off for years. Ben Cornett, nearsightedness like farsightedness can be worked around. I taught my woman football just too late because she claims her love for them dirty Packers, right? Jameis 101 is a Bobo? What the hell is that? I don't... Well, Ari, why even make this a personal attack? It makes no sense at all. The guy is knowledgeable. He knows his stuff. He backs it up with facts and stats, and everything he said, he's been correct on. Whether you like him or not, that's not the point. The point is, if you're going to personally attack somebody, have some type of reason. I would prefer that you don't personally attack somebody, because we don't do that on the Sports Web. I don't think I personally attacked anybody. Everybody thinks I'm attacking Matt Colson. I'm not. That's not Bobo's voice. It's not. I don't know who Bobo is. Who's Bobo? Bobo Wilson? He's even playing anymore? I think he got cut. Oh, okay. V for Vendetta. I love it. It's great. Awesome. He's a great guest. Who are you? I'm Peter Blake. The guy that knows what Bobo's voice sounds like. Be easier to have balance on offense, and we don't pay $30 million for a quarterback. Rather have a rookie keep building the line. We waited 15 years to the playoff anyway. Let's do this right. Okay. So you complain, Ari, about Winston being the first year in this system, and you want a rookie that's going to come in and do it right away, right? You think so? What if it takes him 3-4 years? What if he never does it? What if Coach Arians leaves after he does do it? How many years can you wait? You're not patient. You're not going to wait any longer. Come on, stop fooling yourself. No way. Does he sound like Jason Light, or is it just me? He does, but he's not. Should have done this 5 years ago. That's what competent organizations do. Ben says, well, Peter, if you're going to be mad at someone for Jameis throwing over 600 times this year, then be mad at Arians. His offensive scheme is pass heavy. I'll say it again. Jameis is going to be successful here. Not only does he need a running game and an offensive line, but Arians may have to adjust his scheme to fit Jameis' skill set. Those three things, in my humble opinion, will help cut down his turnovers, and he'll have more success at quarterback. I think it's on everybody at this point. But I think it's the confidence level of your running game and your offensive line that shows you. He would rather throw the ball than run the ball because he's more successful in throwing the ball with Winston, Godwin, and Evans, and Cameron Brate, and maybe sometimes O.J. Howard and Brashard Perryman than running the ball. But that's a problem. You have to get confidence in your running game. And once again, whether it's a system or not, you have to change your system to a certain degree. And that means having a balanced attack. Jameis is a supreme talent. That's why all those Hall of Famers are wrong, but the keyboard warriors know better. Too much arm talent for his own good. You mean that Krispy Kreme diet doesn't work? I don't know what that was. Ari Moss, you're right. Let's see. Donuts. Next week, I'm going to video in and have a creepy mask icon. Oh, that's cool. I mean, you could do that if you want to. I mean, we'd love to have you on video, Allison Koehler. We like you on the phone. We get you on video. We do anything you want. See evolution. Peter, are you talking to Jason Light? This guy sounds just like him. There's a reason he's not showing his face. Well, because he wants to. I'm not going to question his motives. I'm definitely not going to question his knowledge, because the guy was a dynamite guest tonight. I can't say it anymore. And you heard me put it out there. Once Winston signs, which he says he's going to with the Bucs, then we're going to have him on. So get ready. He just almost called him Jason. I did not. Nah, he's a part of the anonymous and knows secret info, says LaMarcus. You guys are being smart-ass trolls tonight. Arians stays the defense's top priority, and bring Shaq back is a must. Not saying it's not. By the way, those who want to follow me can do so. Facebook at writer Allison Koehler and Twitter at Allison Koehler. Peter failed to pimp me. I am so sorry. That is the beat writer of the Tampa Bay Vipers. I do apologize for that. So there you go. He is the Illuminati. Stop it. You guys are being idiots. Remember, Winston didn't have the time needed with the team before the season to really play off each other. The fact that they performed well during the second half of the season proves that he's a good enough leader to stack up against the big guys like Brady and Rodgers. If we stand by Winston and give him a chance, I believe he will deliver a full season just as good, if not better, than what the second half of this last season was. Good stuff, River Oak Ellie. Welcome to the Sports Web. He writes books and knows things. Majority of Bucs money goes to the defense. We'll see. But more money 3 years from now if he is one and done. I was just joking. I know. Brady sits when he pees. Okay. No one hears this guy's voice. It's Jason. Okay. Winston goes to Miami. I don't see that happening. Just sounds like a fat white dude. That's a lot of us. The difference between him and everybody else is the fact he's written a book and he has been on several radio shows, and he has a lot of great knowledge and a lot of great sources. That's the difference. I'm just stating the obvious. He has more sources than you and anybody else. Rivers is no scrub. Well, he's 38 years old. I don't think he fits this offense. And even Carson Palmer told you last night in his comments on the Pat McAfee show. Won't happen. I'll probably have a heart attack if we have a playoff run like KC did last year. It's certainly possible. Peter H. Blake still got that Super Bowl dream in Tampa going, I see. I'm just saying, look, it's the obvious thing, right? It's the biggest elephant in the room. The Super Bowl is in your own backyard. You're coming off a 7-9 season. You have lots of cap room. You have some players you have to sign. If you can get most of them signed, you have an opportunity. They could have won more than 7 games. They're not a 7-win team. I get it. Your record says what you are, but they weren't a 7-win team. They had an opportunity to win some games last year. Whether it was turnovers, kicks, bad defense, they had the opportunity to win more than 7 games. Plus, you have another draft this year where you can get players to come in and contribute right away. Plus, you have the development not only defensively, second year in your system, but also offensively in the second year of your system. So am I a little bit too optimistic? Maybe. But I'm telling you, this is the way the Glazers are thinking. This is the way Coach Arians and this offensive staff is thinking. Every football team is thinking about Super Bowl. But when it's in your own backyard, oh yeah. Can't sleep at night, probably. Super Bowl, I'm sorry. That's okay. Johnny Dean Kool-Aid is a powerful drink. I prefer Powerade or Gatorade for that matter, but okay. But if Jameis leaves, he's going to take his team, next team to the Super Bowl. Certainly a possibility. It's happened before. He gets on a better team, better offensive line, better running game, better defense. You want to take the chance? Or you're the guy. You're the guy that's going to say, let him go. And then if he went somewhere and performed, you go, oh, we shouldn't have got rid of him after all. Well, too late, my friend. And they've done this in the past. It's not like they haven't. They have. Kool-Aid is delicious and refreshing. It is. I couldn't care less what any former player does after they leave the Bucs. Johnny Dean, the professor. Why talk about other quarterbacks if Winston is coming back? Because that's what we do here. We're going to give another perspective, right? Peter not wanting a 42-year-old quarterback. Same guy saying that the same guy they wanted a 43-year-old kicker in Matt Bryant last year. Only the most accurate kicker. In the time he left the Bucs, it didn't turn out so well. But a kicker and a quarterback, Ben, boy, you are trolling at 1,000 tonight. Totally different position. Come on, man. Kicker's not getting hit 30 or 40 times a game. Come on. If this guy isn't Jameis' agent, he should be. Keith Larson just posted a link. I don't know what that is. What's going on, Cornell? You and Matt are trying your best to run Peter hot tonight. Well, that's okay. You guys can do that. Deontay Moore call. Johnny, you mean good job doing the interview and chatting here as well, by the way. Absolutely. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Johnny Dean. Bucks need to go after Greg Olsen. That was the other news today. Greg Olsen is in contract talks with the Buffalo Bills, which would make sense. Sean McDermott, who used to be the defensive coordinator, is there as the coach now. They need a tight end. You also have the Seattle Seahawks and the Washington Redskins, which, by the way, cut Josh Norman. A lot of people said, well, Josh Norman's going to be brought back. Not with Ron Rivera, he's not. But Ron Rivera is familiar with Olsen. So maybe you see Greg Olsen go to Washington because he's familiar with Ron Rivera. Of course, they've had their own tight end troubles with, the guy's name escapes me because he's always hurt, but he's always one of the biggest fantasy selections. And then he always gets hurt. Always. So they may be for an upgrade. Again, Josh Norman got cut. He's only $3 million in dead money. Of course, he was with the Redskins for 4 years, showed that he's definitely lost a step last year. Need a blocking tight end. Josh Norman, no. Like I said, I've gone over this. Let's see here. Impressive stuff here. Great quality. Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it. Keep on tuning in to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. You know, we're not only just on Facebook. We're on Twitter and we're on YouTube. We're everywhere. What other platform does that? What other Bucs platform does that? Who's staying up at 11:30 at night? Is it 11:30 yet? It's 11:16. Who stays up on a Valentine's Day, talks Bucs football, gives you a voice, gives you an opportunity? I know Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy like to get in. He can't get in. I don't know why. What's going on, Tampa Bay? Trading up for Burrow would cost approximately 5 draft picks, 3 of which would be first-rounders. Bucs already mortgaged their future giving up draft picks, Gruden and Keyshawn. They are still trying to recover. They are. Need a tight end that can catch. Jameis Winston derangement syndrome. It's true. It exists. You saw it the other night with Peter King. You saw it with how Mark Magana, you've seen it with how he's covered in this town alone. And if you think he's covered fairly, maybe you're watching our shows, yes, but everybody else's? Nope. When Jameis is going to learn to look off of the safety, he looks off too much. That's what the coach said. Remember? We talked about that, and Leo Haggerty went on to say that. JWD, JWDS. So what? Todd Stats. Yards. What quarterback has gotten to 40,000 yards the fastest in the NFL? They're not denying it. We talked about that. Love Metallica's cover of that. Matt Stanford. And how many playoff wins going to the Hall of Fame? Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. They blame quarterbacks too much. It's a team effort. The Lions have done a very bad job of building around Matt Stafford. Would we all agree? Hopefully the Bucs don't follow this, but they have early. I'm sorry. They've tried, but it hasn't worked out. Got to build an offensive line. You got to have a running game, and you've got to have a defense because you are him. The guy's name is Joe Siegel. Nah, I don't think so. Sorry. That does sound like Jason Light. I'd love to see a spectrograph side by side. Okay, Matt. This guy's name is Joe Siegel. If he hasn't already blocked you, well, look, he doesn't want to deal with nonsense. He really doesn't. Sorry, he just doesn't want to deal with nonsense. And he's throwing stuff at you, and you're coming back with just emotion. He's not going to deal with it. I get it. I don't know if he blocks. I don't know if he blocks a lot of people. I think it's the other way around, to tell you the truth. Great interview. Thank you very much, Brody. Appreciate you. Thanks for all the love. Fred, the Corp. Absolutely, Fred. Once again, welcome to Bucs Report. I didn't get a chance to talk to you, but hopefully you make yourself known here on the Sports Web. Really do. Let's see. What other comments? I know we got a lot here. Let's see. See, that's a difficult thing with going through some of these comments. You lose your place. And we did lose our place there. So let's go back to what Fred was saying there. Hold on a sec. Let's see. Wow. Okay. So yeah, thanks a lot, Fred. Matt says they did remove Jameis from the media package promotion over the Uber incident. I don't think that was the highlight of Jameis's career. It wasn't. But the Glazers could have easily gotten rid of him at the time. That was the point, and they didn't. Jameis 101, one of the most entertaining Twitter follows around. Absolutely. That was awesome. Thank you, Jarvis. Appreciate you. Incidents like that are why Jameis doesn't lash out at the media. He put himself in a bad situation. I've talked about that before too, but it was 3 years before, right? I mean, people just keep continuing to act like he's had all these incidents off the field. He hasn't. I mean, I think that was Jason Light. It's not. We definitely love Fred Corp. Peter, you're the man. We don't need Josh Norman. We don't need Josh Norman because he's seen his best days. Very good show tonight. Thank you very much. Swagler, Ben, now the horns are popping out of Peter's head. Yes, local radio has fishing show on the air for Sundays, WDAE. Jameis so far in the NFL is not better than Stafford, and I'm a huge fan of both, as you know, better than anybody. I hope you can get it done the right way and soon. But when I hear yards, I just yawn. Well, right now, if you compare both, yes, the resume of Matt Stafford is better. But if you're comparing quarterbacks right now, I take Winston over Stafford. Locally, there has been some talk of trading for Matt Stafford over Jameis Winston. I can't make it up. The guy's had two back injuries, and you want this guy behind the offensive line? Okay. Wouldn't mind getting Stafford here in a trade. Okay. Hell yes, I need a good fishing show. Tampa hasn't had one since the All-Stars. I love the term hunker down. I'm a huge Lions and Seminoles fan. I have plenty enough the comparison 1,000%. Nas ruled the world and had more than one phone. All right, welcome back to the Sports Web. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Mark in Largo.
Hey, Mark, how you doing? Welcome to the Evolution. What's on your mind tonight?
Too bad, man. I heard you talking with 101.
Yes.
And, yeah, it makes sense what he says. We either need to sign Jameis long term or let him go, really.
Well, I think, again, if you let him go, there's always that chance, and it's a big-time chance that he gets with a better team, and then he starts to win, and then you're starting to look at yourself and say, well, why did we do that? And I always go back to this, has he had the coaching? Has he had necessarily the proper coaching? Has he had the best offensive line? Has he been able to succeed with the Bucs in the best possible manner? And if you say yes, then you're wrong, because he hasn't. So I say give him another year in this offense, see what he can do, because I finally believe he has a coach that can definitely coach him up to be better. And then if you decide you want to move on, then you can go ahead and do that. But for me, I just don't give up on 26-year-old quarterbacks. That's scary to me. Go ahead.
Yeah, I feel you. And the thing, I say he needs a long contract because you can backload the contract. You can keep him for about 2 years.
Right.
And then you can let him go without, hurting the cap that much.
Sure.
But otherwise, I mean, franchise tag, I don't really see it. If he has a bad year, he's gone. If he has a good year, what are you going to do? You're going to give him a huge contract after 1 year?
You have to. Absolutely, you have to. You're going to have to. You're. That's why if you get the contract done this year, then maybe you won't have to pay so much next year. Because if he blows up a lot like Carson Palmer says, then basically you're definitely going to have to pay him. And you look at Pat Mahomes possibly getting $40 to $50 million a year, that quarterback market is going to skyrocket. And if he has over 30 touchdowns and lowers those interceptions down because he is so comfortable in that offense and they make the playoffs, if I'm Jameis Winston's agent, man, I am definitely feeling like I won the lottery. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're right. That's why you signed him to a long-term deal right now when his value isn't as high.
Well, I think his value is still somewhat high because, again, he passed for over 5,000 yards, had over 33 touchdowns, over 30 touchdowns. But right now, I mean, you could do a short-term deal. Like you said, you could backload the money where it makes sense. There's ways of doing it. Mike Greenberg, Jason Light, they know what they're doing because this organization had less dead money in the NFL than any organization. So even though they weren't able to go out on a spending spree last year because they signed a lot of their young players and they were still under some of those bad contracts, I don't think that's going to happen again. I think they're going to definitely know what they're doing in this free agency period. And, buddy, we're going to have it here all for you on March 18th. When that new year starts, we will be live on the sports web. So anything else?
Yeah, I'll be up with you having a beer or two for that. So,
well, you won't have to be up
cheers.
With me. You'll have to be. The league year starts at 4:00, so I think we're going to be on air maybe about 12 or 1. I'm taking off the whole day. I've already told work I'm taking off from the sales job, and we're just going to go through guests and get your comments. And there's going to be rumors circulating all for those 2 days because the legal tampering period is March 16th through the 18th. So once those rumors start to flow, we'll definitely have it covered here on the sports web. All right?
All right. I do have one more question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
So with free agency coming up and Sue, if we don't sign him, that kind of points to our draft. Like we're looking at a defensive tackle. It kind of puts us in that spot that we're usually in where they're like, oh, we know they're going to take whichever defensive tackle falls to us.
Yeah. No.
So what do you think we're going to do with Sue or maybe a free agent?
Well, I mean, look, of course, the Winston contract is the big factor. You have Shaq Barrett. I think you have to re-sign JPP. If you do that, then you have Nassib and Sue. I could definitely see Nassib and Sue going by the wayside. At that point, then you have the opportunity to go into free agency and get a defensive tackle. Would a Leonard Williams fit? Possibly. He's played for Todd Bowles' defense before with the Jets. Is there a possibility of getting a Jordan Phillips from the Buffalo Bills? Absolutely. The thing is, how much do you have to pay those players in order to get them in a uniform? And like you said, if you do move on from Sue, and this is what the hard thing is, like the draft is deep with defensive tackles and defensive ends and offensive tackles. So let's say you don't address both of those positions, then you know at some point you're going to either draft an offensive tackle or defensive tackle. If a Ken Law or Derek Brown are on the board at 14, I would draft them. But the thing that's difficult about it is that there's a good offensive tackle on the board, then you definitely have to run to the podium. So right now, if Sue's not signed, I definitely think you would lean into the direction of getting a defensive tackle because, once again, you want to continue the success rate of what you had last year by being the number one run defense. So I definitely agree with you, especially if there's a Derek Brown or Ken Law on the board at 14. Does that answer your question?
Sure does, and I think one of them will definitely be on the board, probably Kinlaw.
It's possible, but again, my friend, weird things happen at the combine, and if a guy runs just an amazing or blazing 40 time, then basically his stock goes up, and then you start to look at the tape. You look at Ken Law's story; he's homeless, 6.5 sacks, consistent player on a bad South Carolina team. And I think a lot of scouts right now are frothing at the mouth to see what kind of production he can provide in the NFL with having those parts. Can you imagine Kinlaw and Vita Vea on that defensive line? Oh, my goodness.
For sure. Good show, man.
Hey, man, thanks a lot. Keep on calling the Sports Web, the evolution of sports talk television, all right? All right, there you go. 813-699-5353, 813-699-5353. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Want to read these comments until we get some more questions or we get some more calls? And if not, I'm going to wrap it up for the night because it's been 2 hours and 30 minutes on Valentine's Day. But that's what we do for you guys. That's what I do for you. That's what Bucks report. All right, read that. Nas did rule the world and had only one phone. He had one mic. Yes, he did. And one call was me. 50 interceptions. No, I'm a Libra 2 brother. October is the month. I did call in once, but Will Man beat me in. Hearing all those calls, I think I will skip tonight. But you didn't. You called in, and you did good. You came through. Johnny Dean, I'll do the same. I love hearing the callers just as much as calling in. Good stuff. See Derek Brown falling. One can only hope, depending on what happens. I mean, and do they take the performance versus the Minnesota Golden Gophers? Which, by the way, people say, oh, why do you cover in the Outback Bowl? Well, because that's a possible draft prospect there. And the Outback Bowl always has a great matchup, right? Derek Brown, dominating defensive tackle, didn't show up that game. Shut down. Did they hold that against him? Possibly, depending on what he does in the combine. But highly successful defensive tackle, take over games. What did he do against Alabama? What did he do against top SEC competition? I mean, that's what you're looking at. Talk is he'll go 7 to the Carolina Panthers. We'll see. Mock draft season. You got to love it. Becton, please. We need a nasty old line. Boy, he is a man among boys, isn't he? Wow. Better than being drunk. Where does he fit into your offensive line draft rankings? For Becton? I mean, I got Andrew Thomas number 1, Tristan Wirfs number 2, and Becton at 3. And then after that, it's still pretty good. I mean, there's definitely, and we'll get Luke Easterling of Sports Illustrated on, I believe, next week. We'll try to get him on, give us his offensive line rankings. Want to talk with him? Works for Sports Illustrated, does a good job of covering the Bucs. We'll try to get him on. We got you covered, man. You're not gonna go anywhere else. You come here nightly, 9 o'clock, sometimes 10. Most likely 9. Now, I'll give you a 2-hour show, maybe even a 3-hour show. We'll see what we can do tonight. All right. What did you hear about DJ? I don't hear anything about DJ. I don't know who DJ is. Who's DJ? He should be there. A lot of people are putting him ahead of Wirfs now, though. So he may go before the Bucs pick. He may. I mean, there may be a run on offensive tackles. Not a bad position to draft. Never a bad position to draft, in my opinion. Offensive tackle, defensive tackle. Build within the trenches. It's boring. It works. Go with what works. Apply what you know. We need a beast right tackle somewhere in those first 3 rounds. Agree. Josh Jones out of Houston's one of those guys. Could be there. I heard about Isaiah Wilson. That's one of Easterling's guys. I heard Nick Citro bring him up. Ahead typing sucks tonight. Can you guys see me? I don't know if they can. You say the offensive line is overpaid, and then you say you want to get Conklin. Well, yeah, the offensive line is overpaid for no production. Cut the production out, cut the pay, give it to somebody that deserves the money. Conklin is a proven commodity. That's what you want. That's my opinion. Let's see. Cornell, why now? If he had bad vision, why not fix it sooner? Because he couldn't do it, Cornell, until he was 25. If you had a run game, his passing yards would be cut in half. Also, his interceptions and turnovers most likely would be cut in half, right? Good stuff, Roger. They are the same person. Preach it, Jason. Very funny. That was Joel Siegel. Not Lions are smoke screwing to get the Dolphins to do something stupid. Lions saying that stuff about Stafford so they can force Miami to trade to 2 for Tua and Young falls into their lap. That's it. Well, I don't know if a Young falls into their lap because I think Chase Young most likely goes to the Washington Redskins with Ron Rivera. That's where I think he goes. So who would they be trying to trade down for? That will be interesting to see who it is. Stafford is garbage. Stafford is not garbage. The Lions are. This was a debate before. My biggest takeaway tonight is I'm all for someone calling out the media, which is fun entertainment to hear and see. Having said that, I believe Jameis 101 is either a friend, agent, and or family member of Jameis, so this guy will always have the insight on what's going on. But the point is, no matter who he is, he has the insight. He's written a book, and he knows what the hell he's talking about. We wouldn't have him on here if he didn't know what he was talking about. I trust him. Let's see. Welcome back to Lions Report. Okay, well, we talk other sports or other teams around here. Ari, you never called before. You've never called, not once. Why haven't you called? Stafford's an average quarterback at best. Kevin, what is Home Alone? Ben Cornett once again trolling at 1,000. He's fired up. He is. He brought the passion. He did. Christopher Cole, you think? I know another team's quarterback combo you could say that about too. Yep. Peter Ace Blake hung up on me for less. I mentioned that again. As Taylor Swift would say, you need to calm down. Tonight sounds like the same that Fox News uses. Sean Hannity cries about the fake media every night. I don't even know why we're bringing politics in the sports, my friend. That's just a bad comparison. Fox News? Really? To us? I think we have a lot more fun than Fox News. I think we have a lot more fun talking sports and politics. I ain't talking no politics. Wow, Evans and Godwin are stars on our team, on any team. Oh, maybe it's the quarterback that's getting them the ball that are making them stars, right? I mean, I think they all work. It's not just, one. Well, the reason why he's so good is because of Evans and Godwin. Well, maybe it's Jameis too making them good. I mean, Kevin, stop calling after you hit the bar. We don't give a damn about Matt Stafford. Who's Jameis Winston, Kevin? Good debate. Thank you. Jameis Winston. Stafford can see. Drop the mic. Okay, great. Detroit. This is Don Vito from Viva La Bam. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. Exactly. That's what it's all about. He brought all three. Deontay Moore, line of sight or line of the night. What's the point of franchising Jameis? Well, because they may feel like they want to sign him or they want to take a look at him for another year. They may not want to go to his salary demands. I mean, and they have the choice. They have the opportunity if they want to. Everybody just assumes that they want to move on. I'm not ready to say that yet. And from what he was saying tonight, Jameis 101, he believes the Bucs are going to sign him, and I believe the same thing. And I don't think you play through a knee situation if you know your value is going to go down, if you haven't been given an assurance by the organization that you're coming back. It matches up with the Ian Rappaport report from the Texan game. That report has never changed. Never. Think about it. You change your mind after your two top wide receivers are out? That's how you evaluate your quarterback? On an injury? 2 injuries? That makes no sense, guys. Come on. Oh my God, Tua. Yeah. Which guy is on the 28-day, Kevin or Peter? Bucs could have helped Winston immensely by drafting a real running back. Dalvin Cook. Which, by the way, the local media hated. They hated that pick. They hated it. They should have drafted him. That would be the best draft they had. Whether he could stay healthy or not, he would have been an upgrade over anything the Bucs had. And it looks bad now because O.J. Howard is underperformed. Would we all agree with that? 2 at best. Can't run with a garbage offensive line. True. You got to improve the offensive line. Agree with that. Winston in his prime. Eddie Fowler, an offensive lineman. Prime time for LASIK. They waited too long in the draft and ended up with Rojo. If a frog had wings, it would bump his ass on the ground. Well, that's very true. Rojo is good. Position could have been addressed too, but I guess a kicker was more of a need. I'll re-sign Barber and draft a third down back who can catch. I should have got more Miller Lite tonight. No one fears Rojo. Well, the thing is, Eddie, he definitely has a lot of flashes of brilliance, right? Big-time plays, not being given the volume. Why? Because he has some type of weakness to his game. He can't pass block. And this coaching staff doesn't necessarily have the confidence in him because they've taken him off the field in those situations. That won't work long term. Run out of water. Tom Brady wouldn't make it through a half a season with this O-line as it is. Ari Moss, plenty of that. It'll be a circus of clinic tents waiting for Brady to get crippled. Jeff, wow. He needs to get to pass protect better. Basically, Peter just danced around Andrew Farbert's question. What was the question? I'm sorry, I didn't see the question here. Let's see. I don't know what the question was. So put it in the post there, Webhead. Get a running game. Amen. Anyone think the Bucs could pull a trigger on D Swift at 14? Depending on what they do in free agency. I don't know about 14. I don't know. Wow. I mean, do you really think he's the next Todd Gurley or Leonard Fournette? I mean, I guess it's a possibility. Look, if there's no offensive lineman or defensive lineman on the board and he's the best player on the board, I wouldn't think it's far-fetched. It just depends on what you do, not only in free agency, but in the later rounds, because basically then you pigeonhole yourself. You know, you have to address the players on the free agency. And if you lost to Sue and you lose a Nassib or you lose a JPP, then you have to address those positions. And again, you have to address the offensive line. So could they pull the trigger on D Swift? I think anything's possible, but I think you have to look at an offensive line and defensive line first, depending on free agency. Free agency will be the biggest indicator. And I know it's a boring response, but that's just how it is. Hope not. Him and Rojo Barber walked would be fun. It absolutely would be fun. Laugh my ass off. Love you, Peter H. Blake. Appreciate you, Kevin Clayton. Rosie Palm broke up with Peter because he didn't want something healthy in his eggs. Wow. Well, once again, Ben Cornett trolling at 1,000 from Las Vegas. You're a jerk. Jeff Quinn. Peter isn't going to eat an omelet during a show. He gets so involved in the show. He let the steak get cold. I know he won't eat a veggie omelet. You know, true story, guys. There is a steak right now in that microwave along with macaroni and cheese. I've not touched it. That's how much I was looking forward to this show tonight. I couldn't even eat. I couldn't even sleep last night. And that's how much I love this. And I hope that you feel the same love here on Valentine's Day. I really do. And I feel like you guys do. And that's why I went live tonight. I appreciate you guys. He was just trying to put his helmet back on his head, right? Yeah, right. He got 7. Cassian suspended 7 games. Okay, I didn't see that, but there you go. Good stuff. NHL wants violence. They have dentists on staff to glue teeth back and during the break between periods. It is a violent sport. I can't believe he only got 7 games, though. 7 games. 5 to 10. 10 would be for me, the start. I mean, I said 5 to 10, but just knowing what the NHL is all about. Do you think we pick someone up at the trade deadline like a Kressler? Well, it just depends on what you have to give up. What are you going to give up in that? And they're talking about the Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't know what they're asking for, but if they do Kreider. I don't know. Depending on what the other team wants and what the Lightning are willing to give up and young players in that farm, I'm not sure if they're going to do that. So I think they're pretty good at this point. He says, Streetwalkers repeat. I always knew it. Will you shut up and be quiet? 7-game suspension. Dusty Rhodes was not the Midnight Rider. Right. Let's see. Texans released VH3. They did today. Florio has definitely become a JW supporter. I think they'll sign a 3 to 4 year deal, says Anthony. You think Bucks let him go another team after LASIK? No freaking way. Peter is the man over 2 hours, and I appreciate you guys. Draft Taylor from Wisconsin and be done with it. Certainly a possibility. Kinlaw and Akers would help. So, guys, has this not been a great show? I mean, we had great guests. You had Allison Koehler breaking down that matchup between the Seattle Dragons and the Tampa Bay Vipers, 5 o'clock tomorrow on Fox. And, of course, we had author Jameis 1 of 1 with his book, Jameis Winston, the Jameis Winston derangement syndrome. The media is biased of covering the starting career of a Hall of Fame quarterback, if I can remember that. So, and then, of course, we had your phone calls. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy wants you to get in if you can. If you're not, I'm just going to end it here on this happy Valentine's night here on the Sports Web, the evolution of Sports Talk Television. We'll be back Monday night unless something breaks. We'll have it here. I want you to do 3 things over this weekend. Enjoy it. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Have a great night. And also, love the one you're with. You're now in the Sports Web, a sports talk show for the hardcore fan. Bring your passion, bring your excitement, just don't bring any nonsense.
At Life's a Beach Realty, we're all about life on the beach. Stunning Panama City Beach and one of the most beautiful properties on the Gulf Coast, Shores of Panama. Radiant, elegant, and spectacular. Steps away from white sugar sand, every room overlooks the turquoise of the Gulf of Mexico. Come in for your tour today. Life's a Beach Realty is your gateway to Shores of Panama, the shores, and a whole lot more.
Come to Sam Ash for hundreds of exclusive holiday deals on music and sound gear from the most iconic brands. Save big on professional and starter guitars, drums, digital pianos, horns, violins, DJ, and electronic production equipment. Supercharge your home studio with deals on podcasting, streaming, and AV equipment like speakers, microphones, headphones, and acoustic treatment. Plus, with 36 months no-interest financing on thousands of items, you can get the gear of your dreams right now. From our incredible selection and service to our lowest price guarantee for over 95 years, real musicians know you only go to Sam Ash.
My dad had a heart attack at 56 years old. He passed away at 63, and his main problem was high cholesterol. That was the main problem. And I've thought about that. I'd try anything to lower my cholesterol, to stop the chances of having a heart attack.
When I retired, I really had to be conscious about what I put into my body. Interestingly, I was also told I should probably take a statin. And I've always resisted medication like that because it feels unnatural to me. And so when I heard about this product that can naturally lower my cholesterol, lower my risk of heart disease and other types of conditions that come from having high cholesterol, I jumped on it. Has a lot of fiber in this, so it keeps you regular. It makes you feel good. And actually, interesting, it tastes good. You know, sometimes you see these things and you wonder what it's going to taste like. This one actually tastes really good. In fact, my kids even like having.
Here's a sobering reminder. Heart disease is the #1 cause of death for men and women. No wonder staying heart healthy is so very important these days. And we're learning that a few healthy choices can help prevent heart disease. Enter the inventor of Gatorade, Dr. J. Robert Cade. No secret what Cade and Gatorade did for thirst and performance. And Dr. Cade's Cholesterade is so much more than a thirst quencher. Cholesterade is a refreshing, high-fiber natural drink that could dramatically lower cholesterol and reduce the risk of heart disease. In fact, Cholesterade has twice the fiber of any other product on the market today. Independent studies show that 2 daily servings of Cholesterade can stunningly lower bad cholesterol by up to 20%. Dr. Cade knew firsthand the troubles of high cholesterol and adverse side effects of cholesterol-lowering prescription medications, also known as statins. Dr. Cade knew that a daily increase in fiber could lower the levels of cholesterol, so Dr. Cade invented Cholesterade as much for himself as anybody. Cholesterade is a powder that is mixed with water or juice. Cholesterade is all natural, no preservatives, gluten-free, and probiotic with natural flavors. Studies have shown lower cholesterol numbers without the use of prescription medication. Cholesterade helps all people looking to add fiber to their diet. Cholesterade, combined with a healthy diet and exercise, can help you get your cholesterol under control. Entertainer Rod Adams personally knows the benefits of Cholesterade.
Hey, my name is Ron Adams. You may know me as an entertainer from maybe one of my shows, like my Elvis show. But I'm also a 55-year-old guy that needs to stay in shape. I realized that my cholesterol was getting way out of hand. I went to the doctor and he said, you need to do something. But there wasn't anything to do other than maybe get on a statin, which I already knew was dangerous. And then I found out about cholesterol. Started taking it 3 times a day. 8 weeks later, my cholesterol dropped dramatically from over 300 to under 200. The good cholesterol went from 18 to 36. Cholesterol is what's keeping me healthy.
Independent studies have shown that Cholesterade users have seen their bad cholesterol drop by more than 21%. Triglycerides drop by some 50%. And good cholesterol improve by nearly 13%. Cholesterade supports digestive health. It has 3 great tasting flavors and has become the future in the fight for lowering bad cholesterol. You can find Cholesterade by ordering at www.cholesterade.com. You can find it on Amazon and at major retailers nationwide.